So we get to the bunker, and we're doing all of our accountability checks and stuff. And John, my roommate, he goes, "Hey, you're bleeding."
Hi, everybody, and welcome back to Tracer Burnout. I'm Dan.
And I'm Roger.
And today we have an interesting guest, a rare one. We try not to talk to guests while they are still in service, but
Right.
he is very, very nearly out.
Yep.
So, Army engineer and Warrior Games champion, Tyler Pollard.
Stay tuned.
Enjoy. Tyler, thanks for joining us on this rainy Tuesday early evening. We appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah, of course, man. Every veteran's got a story to tell, right?
That's what they say.
So does your family have a history of service?
Yeah. So it all started way back when. My grandfather was a Vietnam veteran. He was an infantry captain, first lieutenant, Purple Heart recipient, the whole shebang. Also, growing up, nobody ever wanted to play Navy in the family, so I wanted to play Army. So I followed his footsteps. I wanted to join the Army. Jokingly enough, I told him I was going to join the Navy, and he was like, "If you do that, I'll disown you."
I had a very similar experience.
Did I? Interesting.
And so both of his kids, my mom and my uncle, both joined the Army as well. So I just kind of fell in the lap of joining the Army as well. I was told that I was never going to be able to join the infantry from my grandfather. He was like, "Don't do that." He said, "If you join the infantry, you'll be like me. You'll be an amputee at some point." So he's like, "Become an engineer. You'll be a lot happier that way." And I was like, "All right." I'm thinking we'll go to combat. We'll do all these cool things. We'll blow up bridges. And sure enough, that's not how it started off in my career.
You are not the first engineer that we've talked to.
That's
And why
true.
is blowing up bridges always the first things that engineers say?
I really don't know. I think when you go
It's in the brochure.
Yeah, I think when you look up an Army engineer, all you see is like the sappers, and you see blowing up things.
It's true.
And it's like, no, I went in and I became a construction engineer. So that's where I ended up trying to join the Navy to be a CB. So shockingly enough, I actually had to go to Gulfport for AIT and train with the CBs, right? So it was a unique experience being where I wanted to, but not where I was at.
Yeah. So did you come in directly out of high school?
No, I did 2 years at community college. I was playing college baseball at the time, and I was like, this is not fun anymore. So I had joined the National Guard after 2 years of community college, with the intent of going back to a 4-year university and having your school paid for, yada yada yada, and just kind of wanting to get into the construction industry by trade versus having to go to school. And at that time, they were really pushing for, you got to have a degree, you got to have all this other jazz. And so I was kind of using the Army as a preemptive way of getting into the construction industry.
What year is this?
2014.
Okay.
Where did you grow up, and which National Guard were you in?
So I was part of North Carolina National Guard.
Okay.
I grew up just north of Winston-Salem.
Okay.
If you're familiar with
Forsyth County.
just north of that.
All right.
Stokes County, actually.
Yep.
So I grew up on Old 52, Andy Griffith Parkway. I could look out the front door and
wow.
see, the mountain and everything. It's great.
It's a beautiful country out there.
It is.
Did you whistle the Andy Griffith theme as you walked to school each and every day?
Yes, uphill both ways in the snow.
Yeah, there you go. Okay. I expect nothing less.
There you go.
So you were in the Army National Guard for North Carolina National Guard, I should say.
Yeah.
Okay.
My unit was actually in Mount Airy. So
Okay.
that's where I started out at.
That's beautiful country up there.
It is. As an engineer?
It was, yeah. So I started off as a carpentry and masonry specialist. And you go down to Gulfport, Mississippi, and you learn all the tricks and trades of how to lay block, how to build your own house. And that's kind of where like I said, trying to kick off the construction industry, because I always wanted to build my own house growing up. So I was like, well, I can kind of get, started, learning the basic stuff like that.
Okay. So when you went off to basic training, had you already had some personal experience with any sort of construction?
Yeah, a little bit. So I was at Surrey Community College, right up the road, and
I know exactly where that is.
I actually had taken a 8-hour class on carpentry, cabinet carpentry, just so I could stay eligible for school for sports. So so minimum you had to take 12 hours, right? So I was like, hey, we're going to take this 8-hour class and just cruise through it, enjoy something I like to do. And it was a blessing in disguise. After high school, I kind of started dibbling into some remodeling stuff with some friends. Kind of liked it, and I was like, I really want to do like new construction, and that's what really drove me to kind of start from just foundation side of like the concrete block and stuff like that.
So you didn't really have any solid experience going in?
No, not really. I was pretty fairly new to most things. Kind of lived a sheltered life. So it wasn't a bad experience for me. It was just something very new. And then going to basic training, it was like, all right. So the week prior to, my mom had me outside like a stick pulling security on the dogs and everything like that. And I was like, man, this is great. I love this. I don't know why I'm doing this anymore.
At some point during basic, he was like, Mom was right. This is totally realistic.
So, and like my mom was a drill sergeant. So it was like, she knew what she was doing this whole time.
Yeah.
And I had no idea what she was doing to me. And it was great.
Did, in retrospect, would you say that she prepared you well?
100%. 100%.
Have you told her this?
No.
Well, I think
It just did.
Just did.
It just did.
Breaking news here on Tracer Burnett.
Okay. So what sort of other stuff did you learn in your AIT and your advanced training for engineering? Because basic training is basic training across the board.
Right.
The standard is the standard. But when you get to your AIT, to actually learn your specialty, that's when things get interesting.
Yeah, so we learned how to put up a wall. We learned how to frame out windows, frame stairs. Learning concrete block and how to mix mortar and building a foundation stuff, making concrete from scratch.
Slump test.
Yeah, there you go. See, this guy knows what he's talking about. And then collectively at the end, you put it all together and you build this little 10 by 10, with a little roof on it. You're shingling and stuff like that. So, ultimately it was building a little house.
Yeah.
Or a tiny house.
Each individual had to build one, or like your squad was
yeah,
building
so
one together?
It was like a 3-man team that we'd come together and we'd build, collectively this tiny house.
And then what happens afterwards?
You tear it down.
It's good for morale.
It is.
You're doing this training with peers in the Navy, so you're with CB trainees as well?
So we had the CBs and we had some Red Horse guys from the Air Force, so, tri-service stuff.
Gotcha. Very cool.
How long is AIT?
Oh, man, it was a long time ago. I want to say it was 7 weeks.
7 weeks?
Yeah.
To learn how to build a tiny house?
Yeah.
And how to just tear it down?
But yeah, being in Mississippi, you just think, hey, hurricane's coming, don't worry about it.
That's true. It's true.
Accurate. So you got done with that, and now you're in the National Guard.
Yeah.
Full time. Well,
Yeah.
I shouldn't say full time, but
Yes.
you're fully in the National Guard now. How long were you in the National Guard?
Currently I still think I'm in about 11 and a half years now.
Okay. I was under the impression that you then went active, but
No.
Okay. All right. So what unit were you assigned to?
So I started out with the 82nd Pirates out of what at the time was Moxville, Taylorsville, and Mount Airy. It was 3 different units. Each unit had their own platoon, or each building had its own platoon. And being a part of the 3rd platoon guys, the 3rd turd, whatever, so we're sitting there and, we're like, hey, we're the redheaded stepchildren of the unit, but we get things done. We can do everything we want. So we go to Romania, a couple of ATs, we're still...
Annual training.
Yeah. And, so we go over there and we're building some stuff. We go to, we're building, things for the YMCA. We're just doing a lot of storm work for hurricanes in North Carolina. Just little projects here and there, but ultimately it was a great opportunity to learn from National Guardsmen who do this on the full-time side.
Yeah.
We had a bunch of guys in our unit who were general contractors, so they were bringing a lot of experience into us and teaching us, cross-training with electrical and plumbing, and, so it really lined up everything to be able to build your own house.
How are you, because the National Guard is not a full-time job, unless you're active guard,
Right.
but how are you going about these projects? Obviously, your annual training, going to Romania, that's a solid block of time. But all these projects, whether it's storm protection or YMCA or whatever else it is you're just doing this over the course of a weekend.
Yeah, we have our list of material that we'd have. Our chief warrant officer would go out throughout the week and plan it all. And we'd come back and then, drill weekends like, hey, here's your taskings. We gotta put a new roof on the motor pool shed. So everybody goes and they pull out all their equipment. They're setting up the sawhorses and, measuring all the stuff, and somebody's tearing it down. So yeah, we were very efficient in being able to do all the stuff in almost a weekend.
So it's the way that you guys broke down all your taskings. It was like a assembly line almost.
Yeah.
Okay. It could be. How many soldiers are in the unit?
I think we had about 30 at the time.
In your platoon?
Yeah, in our platoon. Yeah.
Okay. So you're a little over 100 in a company.
Yeah.
And the entire company is active at one time.
Yeah.
Yeah. You could get some good work done that way.
Yeah. So each platoon stayed at their respective areas. So each platoon had their own, taskings, different taskings. Like my unit, Mount Airy, they're like, hey, we're going to work on the motor pool shed, right? So they'd be like, hey, first squad, you're going to go pull the roof off. Second squad, you're going to pull all the equipment out. Third squad, you're going to unload all the material and get it ready. And then we'd come collectively together and, have the assembly line, start cutting and moving everything up, and have another squad on top, nailing it all in and stuff like that.
Yeah. So what were you doing full time?
So at the time I was in college.
Playing baseball.
I was, at this point, I've now transferred over to East Carolina.
The Harvard of Eastern North Carolina.
Absolutely. Don't ever forget it either. So, if you get a 0.2 GPA, you're still good.
I feel so attacked right now, Dan.
I mean, hey, it is what it is. But yeah, so I'm going to school there. I'm going to get my degree in construction management. So I'm fully bought into this construction thing, right? I knew I'm looking at, the economy, and it's got to come back up, and stuff like that, right? So getting in the construction industry, trying to build custom built houses and stuff like that. At some point it's got to come back around. So I'm sitting here and I'm learning all these different this management style things in school. So I come back and I tell the unit, I said, hey, I'm going to go ROTC and become an officer. And they're like, you're crazy, don't do that. And so I had a unit readiness. He goes, I did 4 years ROTC as well. You see where it put me. And he retired as an E6, and I still talk to him relatively a lot. And he's like, so how did ROTC work out for you? I'm like, it did me dirty, but it did me great. And
so you were being encouraged by everyone.
Yeah, so actually...
You could put it that way, yes.
Well, and actually, I was. They were setting me up to be the next PL. So when
That's how the Guard works.
Yeah, I mean, they figured out that I was, doing the officer route, yeah. And they were like, hey, you're now the PL. You're going to work with the butter bar, and you're going to actually do his job for him, because he doesn't know what he's doing.
Yeah. No, I mean, that is how the Guard works. Yeah.
And
well, I was going to say that's like most second lieutenants.
Well, yeah, that's true.
Well, that's also true. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I'm sitting there and I'm like, doing all these risk assessments for him, and we're looking at all the material list. I'm like, hey, sir, you might want to check this out. Make sure you got the right stuff. yeah, I know what I'm doing. I was like, okay, well, I'm not stamping my name on this, but, okay. And so then I come to find out that, I'm going through this, and they're like, hey, you're going to go active duty when you commission. I said, I really don't want to go active duty. And they're like, why? I said, well, in the construction industry, and I'm thinking, like, that's where the money's at now, right? Like, I don't want to go active duty and, just kind of buy my time, whatever. So I resigned my so-called commission in ROTC, and after 2 years, and they were like, you're making a mistake, and I was like, okay, that's fine.
This was, you had done 2 years of ROTC at ECU?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so they were trying to really push.
But you weren't contracted yet.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were really trying to push me to go active duty.
Right.
And I was like, I don't want to do this. Like, this isn't what I want to do anymore. And, and already being an enlisted member for a while, you're kind of started setting in your ways, and you're in ROTC, and, like, you start kind of taking these guys who've never been under these, any kind of military orders or anything like that. You start taking them under your wing, and you're trying to teach them the right ways, or how the Army really works, not the way that ROTC works, right? And so I'm just going there and, hey, man, like, what they're telling you is great, but it really doesn't work that way. And they're like, no, that's not how that works. I'm like, okay. So I kind of got booted out, but I kind of said, I don't want to go this route either.
It was a mutual uncoupling.
Very much so, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I don't know that it was really uncoupling is the right word either.
You were in the Guard and you were back home, so you were near your family. Whereas active duty sent all over the place, usually pretty far away from their family support group. What did your family think about all this? About not just about the uncoupling, but you going to school and you trying to further your life, your goals with construction, and going to school for construction management. What did your family think about all this?
So, like, talking to my mom, she really pushed me to go to school because I was first generation college grad. She wanted me to really follow my grandfather's footsteps and become an officer, and I wanted to as well, until I really figured out that being an officer is not what I wanted to do. But they were super supportive with it. My dad, I love him to death. Sports is his thing, though. You're gonna go get MLB draft is your way. It's your way out of here.
You're going to the pros.
Yeah, like, this is the only way you're getting out of town is if you get drafted. So he pushed me really hard as a kid. Become the best athlete you can. It'll make you a better person. And it did. But they're so supportive, and getting me to school. I didn't have a car at the time, so they were driving me back and forth to drill all the way across the state. It'd be like, hey, can you come get me Thursday night?
Greenville to Mount Airy is a long drive.
Yeah, it's like 3.5, 4 hours
at least.
Yeah. My dad's working at UPS in the morning from like 2:30. Then he's a teacher, and then he's a baseball coach afterwards. So he's like coming out and get me at like 10 o'clock at night, and we're driving back. And
he's a good dad.
Yeah, I mean, he's a great guy. Love him to death. But so, like, we're driving back, and he's like, hey, can you drive? I'm about to fall asleep. I'm like, yeah, I got it, no problem. And so I get home, and I'm like, hey, Dad, you want me to take you to work too? I'll just drop you off, and I'll take the car up to Mount Airy so I can go to drill, and I'll pick you up afterwards. And it worked out. My mom would do the same thing. She was working in the hospital, so she was able to come pick me up after a shift or whatever. So I mean, it was just a super nice to be able to have the the family kind of being on your side for it.
Yeah, it's good to have that support system.
Yeah.
Okay, so you decided that you didn't want to be an officer, and some people didn't take that well. So then what did you end up doing?
So shortly after not becoming an officer, they tried to push me to go warrant side. Because I found out that I was really, really good at this construction thing. Being able to read blueprints and stuff like this. I'm like, hey, let's go warrant. And I'm like, I'm only an E4. I can't go warrant yet. You got to have so many NCOERs and all this other jazz. I'm like, I can't do it. Like, unless you guys can write an ETP for it. Like, I can't do it. So I'm waiting. and I'm waiting, and I'm waiting. They're like, hey, you're going to get picked up for E5 now. All right, cool. First deployment comes.
And this is what year?
This is 2019 at this point.
So you've been in for about 5 years.
Yeah. Yeah, I was a long time E4.
E4 Mafia.
Yeah, I mean, I was the Don, man.
That's National Guard,
Yeah.
E4 Mafia.
It's not uncommon.
Yeah, I mean, the Guard, trying to find slots for promotions are tough.
Yeah, that's the thing, right?
It's very different.
And the smaller your field, the harder it is.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. And so, like, with the engineering field, in the construction side, it's very competitive because you have 3 MOSs that branch into the next MOS when you go from E5 to E6. So you're going from a 12 whiskey, a 12 Romeo, and a 12 kilo all into a 12 hotel as an E6. So everybody's fighting this uphill battle to try to, everything starts really narrowing down.
Yeah.
And so I get orders to go to this other unit, which is not the most desired unit. It's a brigade in the state. And, I'm just like, and throughout my 4 or 5 years that I'm in at this point, I'm like, hey, do you want to go on this deployment with this unit? Do you want to go with this? I'm like, no, I'm in school. Like, I'm trying to get through this. Let me do what I'm doing. And so I get involuntarily deployed, and I was like, man, this has got to be the worst timing ever. I mean, I'm a junior in college at this point. Like, I'm so close. I'm ready to finish. I could have finished early, but I took my time when I got back.
Yes. Taking your time in college.
Yes.
At East Carolina.
I mean,
Yeah.
Hey, Dan, some people go to school for 7 years. Yeah, they're called doctors.
yeah, that was me for a bachelor's degree.
I don't know how somebody could find themselves slowly going through East Carolina, and
No,
there are
absolutely
no distractions there whatsoever.
Not the slightest.
Yeah.
I mean, the sports teams were horrible at the time, so it was a great time. So I get involuntarily mobilized, and we go to Kuwait, and I'm with the 30th Brigade now, and COVID hits.
Prior to actually heading out, when you got your mobilization orders,
Okay.
did you guys know what you were supposed to be doing? Were you relieving another unit in place? Were you going over there for a specific mission?
So yeah, we were. It was just our rotation time. We were going
Okay.
to. I'm not even sure who we replaced at the time.
Just back to your regularly scheduled program.
Yeah, I mean, because like they were, when I had heard about that I was getting picked up with them, it was in like February. I just got promoted to E5. They're like, hey, you're going to deploy with this unit. You're going to reclass, and they're getting ready to go to NTC. Do you want to go? And I said, it's the first time I've ever been to NTC. I'll do it. I'm going to go with this new unit. Try to get in with the new guys, try to learn things, right?
Yeah.
All went to fail. Never happened. You go to reclass, and they're like, all right, hey, you need to report on this day. We're flying out the next day. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, dude, I don't even know who I'm supposed to report to. This is a whole new brigade. I've got no contacts over here. Like, kind of nervous at this point because, like, this is my first time out of Mount Airy.
Yeah.
And all you ever hear is like, this unit's this unit's that. Like, it wasn't the best hyped up unit to go to, right? And but it was a great experience. So I go to reclass down in Louisiana as a 12 November. So I become a heavy equipment operator, and we're pushing like red clay in the rain with a bulldozer, and nothing's moving. And I'm like, I suck at this job. And the instructor comes over, he goes, no, you're doing just great. And I'm like, I didn't move anything. He goes, yeah, neither did we, but you didn't get stuck, so you're good.
Behold, the world's lowest bar.
Yeah, I'm like, man, you can sink one of these things real quick, right? And I'm thinking, like, this is amazing. Like, I have an instructor telling me that I didn't do anything, but I did a great job. And that's when I was like, I love the Army. This is a great
That's the
opportunity.
most Army thing I ever heard.
Yeah, right? And so I'm just like, okay, like, thanks. I'll take my 2-week, take my 1059 and move on. So I go back to Mount Airy.
This was a voluntary reclass? Did you have to volunteer for this? Because you had been involuntarily mobilized.
No, everything was involved.
Everything was involuntary.
Yeah, everything was involuntary. I didn't even want to reclass. And once I had went to reclass, I was like, I don't like this. I want to go back to building houses. So I go back to Mount Airy for a couple weeks before we actually ship out. And I'm telling them about how miserable this is. And so our unit, we have one heavy equipment platoon, and then we have 2 vertical platoons. So we got 1 horizontal, 2 vertical. Mm-hmm. And I'm trying to like talk to these horizontal guys, and I'm like, what do you guys do on a normal basis? Like, I can tell you what we do, but I have no idea what you guys do. And they're telling me that, like, basically they're glorified 88 mics, so they're just picking up stuff, moving stuff, and
Truck drivers.
Yeah, just transit guys. And I'm like, all right, like, it's not that bad of a job. Until it is. And, it's go to the motor pool, pick this up, put it back down, do it again. PMCS the trailer, PMCS the vehicle, PMCS the equipment. And you're like, man, like, can I just go PMCS my hammer again? Like, this is so much easier this way. And so I'm talking to these guys, and I'm not getting the good vibe from them. And I'm like, as soon as I come back from this deployment, we're getting back on the vertical side. So we get mobilized. I meet them in Texas. And, being the new guy on the chopping block, you kind of look at yourself and you're like, who am I supposed to talk to? How am I supposed to talk to these people? I don't know anything about this other than like 2 weeks of training in Louisiana in mud. I need help, but I'm a newly promoted D5, so I've got a little bit of pride now, but I don't want to ask for help. So they're like, all right, hey, we're in the sticks lanes at Fort Bliss. Hey, new guy, go get in the dozer, start pushing some dirt. And all of a sudden, my stomach is in my mouth, and I'm like, dude, I don't know if I can do this. So I have the platoon sergeant and the first sergeant come over to me, and they're like, hey, are you okay? And I was like, yeah, I'm good. So I hop in the dozer.
No pressure.
0 whatsoever. It's 100% lie, though.
Yep.
So I get in this dozer, and I start pushing. And I just dig a hole that I could have buried this dozer in. And they're like, dude, you're supposed to grade this out. And I was like, you didn't give me a grader. You gave me a dozer.
Welcome to the Army.
I mean, I think that dozer was probably, I'm going to go on the high side and say 15 foot tall. I probably dug a 12-foot hole. Like, I could barely see out of the hole. And I'm thinking to myself, like, I've got all my new guys behind me, like, laughing, like, whatever. They set me up. I'm digging in a sinkhole. And I'm like, this is so uncool.
You passed the test. Or failed, depending on how.
I don't know. I've asked them still, and they're like, we're not going to tell you. So, at that point, that's when I really learned that becoming an NCO is a lot about mentoring, not doing.
I think that's fair. Dan, fair?
It can be. I mean, it's both. It's both, in my opinion.
So,
yes.
all my Joes are sitting here, and they're like, dying laughing. He doesn't know what he's doing. And I'm like, all right, you guys do it. I'll make sure you guys have your water or whatever you guys need. I'll be your ground guide, but, like, I'm not running sticks anymore. Like, you guys are pushing the dirt. They hated me for the rest of the deployment because I would not give them a break. And I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. And they kept looking at me and was like, there's only one way to figure it out, though. You got to do it.
Well, I mean, that's part of it. But then you also, need that mentorship part.
Yeah.
So your squad leader or your platoon sergeant or the first sergeant even should have been. You're the new guy in the unit. They need to be keeping an eye on you for several reasons.
Right. Yeah.
One of which is knowing what you're doing.
Yeah. So it took a little bit of time to get to that point, but it came around. And, so I feel defeated. Like, I showed up. I didn't know what I'm doing. I'm a new guy on the block. Just got promoted. While I've got, E4 Mafia guys who've been in for 10 years trying to get their E5. And the promotion system's like, hey, as long as you're in college, you get extra points and all this other jazz. And I'm like, cool, whatever. And so I'm looking at it, I'm like, man, I don't even need E5 anymore. So we're in this platoon now. It's a horizontal platoon. And they don't have a PL. So I go to the platoon sergeant and I said, hey, I am not good at pushing dirt. I said, do you mind on the deployment if I help you take the admin side of things? And she looks at me and she goes, what? Why would you want to do that? Like, you're out of your mind. And I said, I'm a little bit better with the admin stuff, figuring out how much you need for this or whatever. And I can help run these admin, mathematical equations for stuff like this. So she's like, yeah, absolutely. You can be the PL. That's fine. Whatever. You're getting paid as an E5. I don't care. And I'm like, it's not about the money to me. It's like, this is where I was trying to go. I was trying to become an officer, blah, blah, blah. I gave her the backstory. And she's like, oh, well, yeah, then you should have started with that. And I'd have made you the PL to begin with.
And then you wouldn't have been digging a sinkhole.
Yeah, right. And that's why I'm like, man, I wish I'd have known that before I go, bury this $80,000 dozer. And so, yeah, I go through this deployment, and I'm basically just a PL admin.
Where were you guys in Kuwait?
So we were at Buring.
Purgatory.
Yes. The whole brigade was there.
Oof.
Except for, 2 platoons.
And they were just sliced off to other
One of them was at
elements.
AJ, and then we had a platoon that was pulling security in, Saudi Arabia or something in an oil field. So I don't know which one's really better.
It's all purgatory.
Yeah, I mean that whole region's a purgatory. Mm-hmm. So we're sitting there and we have nothing to do this whole deployment. We're just kind of like that show of force. We're armor brigade. So we just have assets here. Everything we move there is broke.
Oh, you guys did not take over equipment that was already in place?
No, we did not use TPE. We brought our
Theater
own stuff.
provided equipment.
And everything you brought was broke?
Organic, yeah. Because this whole idea of, hey, if you're in the National Guard, you bring your organic stuff and you use the federal money to get it fixed. And it's like, all right, yeah, cool, this is great in theory. And then it's like you get there and it still sits. It's still broken. And it's not getting fixed.
Well, by then, this is
2019.
Okay, so not quite 2020. All that GWAP money's drying up.
Yeah.
So
quick.
The open purse to just throw money.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, so we had some guys who were coming back from Afghanistan. They were talking about leaving all this equipment, and this is still even before the closeout, right? Mm-hmm. They're talking about leaving all their stuff there. We know what's going to happen in the future. We'll just get new stuff when we get back. Or they're talking about losing their Bradleys and picking up Strikers or whatever it may have been, right? So we're sitting there and man, we got Bradleys that only have a track on them. And yet we brought them. We got Bradleys that have the turrets that can't move. And we're sitting here and we're like, what are we doing with these things? So we're at Buring, and my crash course was 2 weeks of driving a dozer and then sinking it, right? So they're like, hey, Tyler, you need to take this dozer around the motor pool and don't hit anything. Now you have a driving course with a dozer. And I'm like, all right, cool, no problem. First thing I do is I hit this Connex. And I get yelled at by our XO because I didn't have a ground guide.
Were you wearing a PT belt?
No.
Well, there you go.
Wow.
I mean, if you had a PT
If you had a
belt
PT
on,
belt on,
Yeah, no, I didn't. I didn't have a hard hat on.
oh, jeez.
I was a rebel, man. I was like,
Who
I'm an
signed
acting
this-
PL.
Who signed this risk assessment?
Yeah.
The acting PL did.
Yes. That I delegated to an E4.
That's right. There you go.
But yeah, so I mean, I hit this Connex, and I'm like, all right, use the dozer to push it back, and I'm like, no, that's a bad idea. I'll just back the dozer up and park it, and we'll call it a day. So this XO is like now knows my name and like knows who I am, knows where I live.
for all the wrong reasons.
Yeah, exactly. And great guy though. I mean, kind of helped me. He was East Carolina grad too.
The Harvard of Eastern North Carolina.
Exactly. And so he's like, "You didn't go to East Carolina." I was like, "Yeah, I did." Like, quit trying to disown me, sir. And so I mean, everything is just going south in this deployment for me. And you know, I've got these Joes that are in the E4 Mafia who, like I said, have been in 5, 6, 10 years. They don't want to listen to me. I don't know what I'm doing. And they're not wrong. You know, I'm so naive to what I'm supposed to do as a brand new E5 that I'm like, I don't even know what I'm supposed to do. So I start reaching out to the other team leaders, the other squad leaders, you know, the platoon sergeant. And I'm like, hey, like, I need some help, right? And, you know, I needed some guidance. You know, I need some, you know, just some professional development. It's like, I don't know what I'm supposed to do. And I've got these hellions basically on loose that I can't control. You know, being in Kuwait, everything goes south. You know, anything and everything happens in Kuwait. You know, it's like ECU on steroids. And I love it.
The quickest way to make sergeant in Kuwait is to arrive as a staff sergeant.
Exactly.
Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, Article 15 galore, man. And like, so we get briefed when we get there, like, hey, like, watch out for these frozen water bottles in the middle of the desert. Sure, like it's water, right? No, like they'll hit you with these frozen water bottles and then they'll rip you. And I'm like, whoa, okay, like I don't like water anymore. Like, stay
Don't
away.
drink water. Got
Yeah,
it.
Don't drink water in the desert. Got it. And so yeah, it becomes like this whole ordeal, and I'm like, I don't know what I'm supposed to do. And that's really when the platoon sergeant really kind of took me under her wing and made me like the PO, made me start going to these meetings, putting me in, you know, with the commander, like briefing the commander on what's happening. You know, talking with the XO and saying, hey, you know, X amount of equipment's up and running, or, you know, it's deadline or whatever it is. And that's when I really kind of started putting some things together about how the military is supposed to work.
After being in for 5 years.
Yeah, but, you know, being in a building that has a platoon in it, right, that runs their own way. So now, like, I'm seeing, like, a battalion together. I'm seeing a brigade put together.
The big picture.
Yeah, and, you know, you really I start to really I start to see how things start really coming together by, like, movement plans and how, you know, you got to rely on this piece to move there, or, you know, working with the TMC and, you know, moving these big pieces of equipment around. So, you know, it was a really cool experience for me to see how, you know, the little things made such a big impact.
All the pieces matter.
Yes, 100%. And, you know, even if you're the E5 that has no idea what you're doing, you still play a part of it.
Yeah.
And I think that was the coolest for me, was like knowing, you know, where I stood then.
About how long do you think that took for you to really feel capable? From the point that your platoon sergeant was, you know, started mentoring you, or
Yeah.
To the point where you were like, okay, I kind of got this. I kind of see what's going on here.
Shockingly enough, it was in January of 2020. This whole, like, Iran missile crisis thing kicked off. Our brigade comes down to the battalion, which then comes down to the company and says, hey, you're going to road march these Bradleys to Baghdad. And I'm thinking,
From Buring.
yeah, and I'm like, absolutely, this is awesome. wait a minute.
These are the same vehicles that don't have tracks on them.
Yeah,
The
and I'm
turrets
like,
don't
wait a
move.
minute. This is a horrible idea. We won't get out of Kuwait. This is a bad idea. So, to like answer your question, it was when the 82nd shows up. Because they come on their RRF or whatever.
This is the GR.
I don't know.
Global Response Force.
Yeah, those guys. So they all show up, and they try to run Buring. And I'm like, no, this isn't happening. This is our post. Like, I've now got to like put my big boy pants on.
Did a turf battle begin? Like
Absolutely.
The Sharks and
I mean,
the Jets?
immediately.
Were y'all snapping fingers in the streets?
I mean, immediately, right?
Yeah.
So the 82nd shows up, and they're like, hey, we're here to take over Baghdad for you guys. Like, you guys can't do it, yada, yada, yada. And we're like, yeah, we can. We can road march. And I'm like, wait a minute. You guys need to slow your roll. These things are not going anywhere. And so, like, I think it's 1st Battalion or 1st Brigade of the 82nd goes and runs off to Baghdad. And they're securing, like, I don't know, all the top priority stuff. And we're sitting there. So, like, 2nd Brigade is with us now. And so there was like 3 brigades at Buring. Like, astronomical amount of people.
Those gyms are only so big, too, I mean.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a big guy, but I'm not that big. And when you're sitting here trying to, without, having a fist fight with an active duty guy who, knows what he's talking about, without making a fool of yourself, you're like, yeah, no, we're not doing that. This is our post. You don't come in, like, run the street, right? So, I'm trying to put my big boy pants on as a brand new E5. He has no idea who I am. And I'm just trying to stand my ground because I don't want to get ran over, right? And like now you got the active duty National Guard battle going again. So, being from North Carolina, like we go to Bragg all the time for training, and it's like, yeah, nasty girls are here, whatever it may be. So now it's like, hey, the brats are here, we gotta play mom and dad for the brats. And so I think it's really when they got there is when it really kind of kicked in. I was like, all right, now I've got to I'm starting to figure this out. And it's really when it kicked in is like when they got there. And I'm like, hey, like now I have to do all my counselings for all my soldiers, and I have to make sure they're right because now they're getting in fights with Bragg, with the 82nd. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, I'm having to write Article 15, like help write Article 15s. And I'm like, well, guys, why are you getting in fights? Well, he took my bench. Okay. There's like 6 other gyms on. No, this was our gym. This was the engineer gym. Okay, all right. Like, I don't go to the gym, but I understand where you're coming from, and you're a lot bigger than I am already. So I'm trying to make reason with why they're fighting the 82nd. And I'm still mind blown. I'm like, they won't be here that long. Like, this will pass over. 2nd Brigade never leaves. They're there the whole time. And I'm like, this is getting ridiculous. Like, you guys are making my life miserable. So, like, our dress policy was, you had to be in duty uniform till 1700. 1700, you could put your civilians on. Regular PTs, matching top and bottom. Well, 82nd rolls in, wears their brown shirt, PT pants, and they're like, whoa, you can't have this. And sure enough, the 82nd's coming back with policy saying, no, look, we got approved to wear this. This is what we wear at home. We got to get. And we're like, all right, whatever. Like, we're not fighting this anymore. And then it really kicks off, right, when everything starts to settle down in the dust. And then, like, all these C-130s are flying over Buring. No idea. And they're all trying to get their jumps. So they get a star for jumping in Kuwait. And because we run the post, so we're not signing off on this stuff. And we're like, no, you got, there's no combat here. Like, you're not getting a star for jumping in Kuwait. And they're like, no, we just need jump status. Never mind. We're not trying to get a star anymore. And so we'd walk around, like, we'd tell finance, be like, hey, don't give them their jump pay. Like, they're not on jump status right now, whatever. And so it stirs up the animosity even more. So now that's like, we're playing flag football games, and now it's become a tackle football game, and like,
It's like flicker ball.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it just becomes nonsense.
Calvin Bowl.
And then COVID happens. And we officially hear COVID after, like, it's like late January. We hear about COVID. And then everything starts going black. Like, contractors are moving off post. And, you know, everything is just kind of becoming weird because they won't tell us what's happening. But then we kind of start, you know, reaching out to back home to family, and like, they're like, hey, like, be safe, you know. Like, okay, yeah, you've been telling me be safe every day, every morning.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm living my best life here. And like, I wake up, I go get an omelet. It's great. Like, I got the beach under my feet, and it's amazing. And then it's like, hey, like, so-and-so's family member passed away just anonymously. And we're like, yeah, well, you know, the person was 65 years old, you know, had cancer, you know, he might pass away today. And then so we really kind of hear a start about COVID happening. And with my mom being in healthcare, she's reaching out to me, and she's like, hey, like, there's disease going around. And I'm like, HIV, like, where are we going with this?
I don't know what that means. Yeah.
And I'm like, what are you talking about? And she's like, COVID. And I'm like, what is COVID? She's like, well, look it up. Well, you know, being in the Middle East, you look up COVID and you don't get any response. Like, it's not a thing over there. And then all of a sudden, it's like this wave just comes across us, and it's like, everybody's got COVID. And then everybody, you know, quarantine, right? So now the 80 seconds, like, hey, we're on your side, you know, but we're not coming over to play football with you guys because we're being told we got to quarantine. So immediately we're just like, yeah, y'all are scared. Y'all don't want to, you know.
That's clearly it, yes.
And because, I mean, we're all stubborn, hard-headed people. And, you know, the 80 seconds like, no, we can't do this. And, you know, we're out, you know, still playing football. And they're like, no, like, you guys are dumb. Like, you you touch each other, you're going to get COVID. Nobody knows what it is. And so the 80 seconds kind of like playing the smart way finally. And all of a sudden, like, the first COVID case happens on post. And everything goes bizarre. So they shut everything down, kick all the contractors off post. The PX is now like 5 people only. But you got to be in a uniform. You got to, you know, whatever, the whole shebang. And then it's like a 2-mile long dinner line, 6 feet apart. You know, they got the MPs over there with their canines, and they're like barking at you to back up 6 feet. You know, but you're only 5 foot. You know, I'm gonna let the dog after you if you don't back up a foot. And I'm like, all right, man, chill.
Which we found out in the last year or so that the whole 6 foot thing was completely and utterly arbitrary and made up.
Yeah, I mean, it's completely asinine.
But you think back to that moment. Like, people were treating it like it was a POW camp.
Yeah, and that's literally how we felt.
Yeah.
Hand sanitizer stations everywhere. Yeah.
And so, like, you're waiting in this 2-mile long line to find out that there's no contractors cooking. So now you're like, what am I, like, hey, MREs. And you're like, you got to be kidding me. I waited in a 2-hour long line to get an MRE.
And you'll like it too.
Yeah, because you don't have a choice. And, you know, no unit brought MREs with them because, hey, you're
contractors.
Yeah.
Well, you got contractors. You're in Kuwait. Like, everything's good in Kuwait until it's not. So we're sitting there and like MREs for like 6 months. It felt like, and it's probably like 2 months in. So this opportunity arises for me to go to OCS. Commander's all in on it. Battalion commander's in on it. You know, so I'm jumping through hoops, like trying to get my transcripts from back home. I'm like, I need to get out of here. Like, this is my way out of here. I really don't want to be an officer now, though. But I can become an officer just to get out of this deployment. It felt like. So I put my packet together, and go to OCS. I leave Kuwait early to go to OCS. So in the Guard, you have the traditional OCS route, which is like 18 months long. You do 2 weeks, like down at Fort Jackson, South Carolina. And then you come to Bragg for a year, where you just do like a weekend a month. And then you have another like 2 weeks later on, like 6 months after that. So I do the first 2 weeks during COVID. Absolutely loved it. You know, it's basically free PT, like whatever. The way I can explain a black hat, which is an OCS instructor, is literally the way, like, take a drill sergeant and put him on steroids. Absolutely insane. Except there. Because he can't do anything to you. Because of COVID. Like, this is awesome. Like, you're yelling at me to put my mask on after I do PT. I can get down with this. But I can yell back at you because you're in my 6-foot bubble now. Like, this is an awesome experience.
Interesting.
So I'm sitting here and I'm like, man, like OCS is really not that bad. Like, you got to do like a 6-mile ruck march. And I'm like, that's it. It's great. So for 2 weeks, you know, I go through this. I say boot camp, but it's not even boot camp. Of just getting yelled at, right? And low crawling across the field and sprinklers and all this nonsense. And then I go to Bragg. First time I show up at Bragg, I met the 82nd again. That was deployed with us. Some of the guys that I knew were at the NCO Academy. So all of our stuff is done like at the RTI. And the NCO Academy, we share the same track. So first day at Bragg, it's like, hey, do your PT test, you know. But Bragg has priority at running the track. So if you're in their way, like, they'll run you over. And I'm like, whatever, it's fine, right? So we're running, and sure enough, like, I get pushed out of the way, and I'm like, hey man, like, it's not cool. I'm just trying to run. You know, you're running for fun. I'm running because I have to. You know, so like for my standpoint, being the National Guard, like I only run 2 miles a year for PT, and that's it. It's great. Like at Bragg, they run just because like they're bored, and so I'm running this PT test, and I'm like, hey man, like that's not cool. Like why did you do that? He goes, you're National Guard, aren't you? And I was like, oh great, here we go again. So anyway, so I finished the PT test, and I'm getting there, and you'll get a kick out of this because as an officer, like the first day we have recycles with us, and they're telling us like, hey, you know, here's your PL for this weekend, blah, 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 blah.
Student leadership.
Yeah. And, you know, they're going over their mission brief or whatever, their movement brief, and, you know, we're sitting there and I'm like, all right, like this is kind of good, you know, I'm seeing some discrepancies, stuff like that. And then like, all right, you guys didn't respond with the right question to ask the student leadership, like you're gonna get smoked. And I'm like, this is dumb. I don't like this already. You know, and OCS is just like, who's gonna quit? You know,
yeah.
That's really all it was. It was like, who's gonna quit?
Who wants it the most?
Yeah. And at that point, like, I don't want it that bad. But I'll keep playing the game, right? And so at the end of the first month at Bragg, they picked new student leadership for the next month. So because you're National Guard, you have all month to prep your training, prep your plan, and then you'll brief it the next month, right? So they come to me and they're like, hey, you have to move from the barracks to the dining hall, and you have 24 hours to move there. You're the new PL. You need to have a minimum of a 40-page op-board to move like 300 feet. And I'm thinking to myself, like, I know what an op-board is. I've seen an op-board. I've never wrote an op-board. But I've never seen a 40-page op-board, even at like a company level. So I said, oh, roger that, like, I'll do it. And immediately I look at the old PL and I'm like, is this crazy? He goes, no, it's normal. And I'm thinking, like, well, you're not an officer. You don't know what normal is.
I just asked the wrong person.
Yeah.
It's the blind leading the blind.
Yeah, exactly. And so I accept the challenge, right? And I go home, and immediately I get home, I dump all my bags out, and I'm like, you know, green army guy here, green army guy there, like getting a formation, you know, soldier A takes left foot, soldier B takes right foot. Like, I am trying to drag this thing out 40 pages.
Yeah.
And it's not happening. I think I got to about 6 to move like 300 feet. So I take it, and I'm still at ECU. I haven't graduated yet. So I take it to the battalion commander of the ROTC program, who basically has now like pushed me out of the program. And I told him, I said, hey, sir, you know, I'm going back through OCS. Give this another shot. And I said, but I would really like your input on, you know, what I have to do here. And he's like, well, what do you got? And I tell him the scenario and, you know, my movement plan. He's like, it's got to be 40 pages. And he just laughs. And I was like, I don't know if that's like a laugh at me or a laugh for me or a laugh with me.
Yeah.
So I asked him, like, so what's the problem? And he goes, that's crazy. And I was like, okay, so I'm the normal one here. So I said, do you mind if you can try to replicate what I'm doing? Just so I can, like, prove to the OCS cadre that, like, it can't be done. He's like, absolutely. I mean, I'll help you out any way I can. He goes and gets, like, a brigade op board that's, like, 22 pages.
I was going to say, I've seen division orders that are shorter than that.
Yeah. And I'm like, you know what, sir? I really appreciate you doing this for me, yada, yada, yada. So I go back the next drill for a brag. And they're like, where's your brief? And I was like, it's right here, I got it. So I hand it to him, flips right to the back page. This is only 22 pages. And I said, oh, crap. I picked the wrong one. He goes, you did this more than once? And I'm thinking to myself, yeah, I did this more than once.
Yes, I did.
Yeah, right? Like, it's all about confidence, right? So I'm like, yeah, I did it. And I did it twice, you know, because I made some mistakes and, you know, I fixed it myself and whatever. And he goes, this is supposed to be for a platoon, not a brigade. And I said, oh, my apologies. Yeah, I had a battalion commander write this, and he can only do 22 pages, and you want me to do 40 pages for a platoon. He goes, what are you trying to say? You can't do it? I said, no, I tried, and I said, here it is, it's 6 pages. He's like, well, brief it. I'm like, okay. So I'm briefing it, and then we're doing rehearsals. You know, and this brief is, you know, it's a very quick, easy brief. You know, like, we're just marching basically from 300 feet south. So we're now in rehearsals. And the battalion commander of the OCS at Bragg walks out. And he's like, what in the crap is this? And I'm like, sir, this is my brief. This is my scheme maneuver. We're taking left foot first and then right foot second. He's like, you broke it down that dumb? I was like, Barney style, sir. It's like, it's the only way the enlisted understand. And he's like, you're not wrong, but you failed to meet the criteria that was asked. I said, you're right. And I said, you know what? And I failed to become an officer because at this point, I am going to resign my commission again. He goes, again? What do you mean? So I had to tell him the story about ROTC, and he goes, so now you're 0 for 2 of becoming an officer. What is your next approach? I said, I'm going to become the best NCO that you will ever see. He goes, well, good, because you'll never be an officer. I said, that's fine. I said, now I've only got one more chance of like a direct commission, and now we've done the trifecta.
The hat trick.
Yeah. And so he looks at me, he goes, I will never put you in for a letter of recommendation as an officer. I said, that's fine. I said, I don't want to be an officer.
I didn't ask you for one.
Right. And that's why I was like, okay, that's great. And I said, and I honestly, I told him, I said, I really got out of a deployment by coming here, and you've really made my day because I don't have to do this anymore. So I really appreciate you cutting ties with me now. And he's like, I thank you for your honesty. And then I shook everybody's hand, and I was like, all right, I'm gone. I go to the PX, and I walk out with like a 12-pack of Pepsi. It was great. And I came back and watched the rest of the day.
Let's take a break.
All right, so you're out of the officer path once again. On your way back to your unit with your...
To be the finest NCO anybody's ever seen.
Yes. With your case of Pepsi.
Yes.
So.
Yeah, so I go back. I go back to Mount Airy.
Has your unit redeployed at this point?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, they're back home. And because it was in Vol, I could just fall back to the Mount Airy unit.
Okay.
And at that point, I have found a mentor who was my team leader when I came into the Army. Taught me almost everything I knew about construction. And I talked to him, and I'm like, hey, I think I like this horizontal engineering stuff. So I think I'm a little bit better at it. So I basically have PCS, and I leave Mount Airy, and I go up to the mountains. And it's a whole different ballgame. You're driving a 40-foot flatbed down the mountain with like zero experience driving something that big. So I'm up there, and then like the National Guard does this whole like reconfiguring of like the units, and it's a mess, right? So I tell them, no, I want to stay in this unit. They're like, okay. So that mentor that I had, now he's AGR, Active Guard Reserve. He now picks up in the unit that I'm in. And now he becomes like my readiness NCO every day. Like if I need a question, I go to him. So I'm under his command-ish for a couple years now. I think it's two years.
So this would be 2022?
2023-ish. About this is when we're starting to get there. And so I'm under his command, and we're going to NTC. And I'm learning
National Training Center.
Yeah. And I'm learning everything about a dozer I can possibly figure out.
No sinkholes this time.
There's no sinkholes in California that I find.
Challenge accepted.
Right. And but I find every whitey there possibly is at night. Mm-hmm. Night vision goggles driving was not fun.
No.
No, it's not.
No, it is not.
And so we're at NTC, and I become the SME on a dozer. I get every project that needs to have a dozer. We're breaching with a dozer. We're just driving, we're convoying in a dozer, whatever it is. Hey, you get the dozer. All right. So I love it because everybody else is just pulling security. I'm like, I'm out bouncing around. We get tasked as a company. We get tasked to this whole brigade that's getting ready to deploy. It's a striker brigade out of Pennsylvania. So, I become the SME on the dozer. I've got every project under the sun, and it's great. I love it. I'm learning about the dozer. I've now conquered my fear of driving a dozer again. Like it's immaculate. So fast forward, we come home from NTC. My little brother's in the National Guard. He's in the same unit. He's an E4 and I'm an E5. And so we get home, they're presenting like all of our like AT awards, right? And they're like, Sergeant Pollard, here's your AAM or whatever it is. And he goes up there and accepts it. And I'm on trail, so I'm still in California trying to get all the equipment home. Because I'm the unit movement officer at this point, too. So I get a call, and they're like, your brother just picked up your award. And I'm like, that's hilarious. I love it. Like, he's a comical guy. And he's like, yeah, I was going to give it to him. I was like, no, you weren't. Because we got coins and all this other stuff with it. So I was like, that's my first coin in the Army that I've ever got. And my brother just stole it from me. So, anyway, I'm under this guy, this readiness NCO, and we're moving forward. We got regular drill for like another year. 2024 comes around. Around, I want to say January, February timeframe, I am notified that, hey, there's this unit getting ready to deploy. Do you want to go? And I'm thinking to myself, last time I did this, not the best idea. I said, who's deploying? Who all's going? He's like, it's a 10-man team. And I'm thinking, why are you calling me then? I was like, I have nothing to do with a 10-man team. So he calls me again, and he's like, hey, you're getting mobilized. You need to report sometime in a couple months. I was like, all right. So I'm actually in the other unit still, and he finds a way to pull me over to this other unit because he's now moved again. So he's in the well drilling unit now. There's only like 8 of them in the DoD, and there's 2 of them in North Carolina. And so he pulls me over, and I'm just getting out of ALC at school, and he's like, hey, we're deploying. And I was like, where are we going? And he's like, Sudan. And I'm like, what?
That wasn't on your bingo card?
No. And I'm like, there's like a whole civil war going on there right now, right? And like a well team should not be the people who go in. Like, unless you've got like water tankers that you're gonna like spray people down, I don't know what you're doing. And so he's like, yeah, we're going to Sudan. That's what I've been briefed. And I'm like, okay, like this is crazy. Normally for like a National Guard unit, they know within like 18 months, like you're getting nosed, you're now going to go on a deployment.
It's a process. It's not a knee jerk thing.
Yeah. I mean, it's not GRF.
Yeah.
At this point, like we now have like 45 days before we're out the door, originally. And so we're thinking like, who's still going with us? We don't even know who's deploying out of this unit because there's only 10 people. So we're all like, hey, like, are you going? Are you going? Am I going? Who knows?
Are they drawing straws?
Yeah. And it felt like everybody had the short straw.
Yeah.
So come to find out, we get another brief, and it's like, hey, you're going to Syria. And I'm like, dude, this is a whole new continent, man. Like, what's going on here? Like, you went from Africa to now Asia. And they're like, no, yeah, you're going to Syria. And I was like, all right. And I'm thinking, I'm like, what in the crap is going on in Syria that like we need to know about? Like, why do they need water in Syria? No idea, right? And so we get there, and we're mobilizing again. And we're going back to Texas, and every time I go to Texas, it feels like all you're doing is deploying. You don't ever get to enjoy Texas or anything like that.
And it feels kind of like Syria too.
100%. It's like the oven has opened the door. And so we get over to Syria, and then we get there in like September, and this whole like Hamas war started in Gaza. And everything is like working its way east towards where we're at. We're in like the southern part of Syria.
Mm-hmm.
And like October 19th, to be exact, at like 1 o'clock in the morning, you just hear this loud, thunderous lawnmower, weed eater motor. And then it goes just dead silent. And then all of a sudden you just hear like this boom and this blast. And then this heat wave, right, from the concussion. So we've now been attacked by their drones.
Mm-hmm.
And nobody knows what's going on. It's very sudden. It's in the middle of the night, so people are sleeping. This base has like an intercom that you can't hear. And I remember being in my hooch and, being on my phone, like watching Netflix or something off of Starlink. And
thank you, Elon Musk.
Right, yeah. And so we're sitting there, we're watching it, and all of a sudden, like, you just hear this noise. I'm like, hey, I'm waking my roommate up, and I'm like, John, get up, John, get up. He's like, what? I was like, we need to leave. I don't know what's happening, but we need to leave. So we run outside, and all of a sudden everybody looks up. It's like, what was that? And then you hear the explosion and then the heat wave. So we're all like running to the bunker at this point, and everybody's freaking out. And I'd say we're probably less than 50 feet from this thing. And the way the base was all set up, we have all the T-walls, all the barriers.
Jersey barriers, yeah.
That are kind of protecting us. But that concussion was so bad that it like blew people off their feet into the Jersey barriers and stuff. So we're still running, and it blows me off my feet into this Jersey barrier. And I wake up, and I'm kind of like, what just happened? But I'm out for only like a couple seconds, it feels like. And it's just like, they didn't miss a step. I kept running. And then our air defense goes off. And I'm like, you're late. But I appreciate you finally showing up. And so they go shoot like another 2 drones down or something like that. And I mean, I'm probably from like me to you from this ADA. And it just, and I was like, oh, that hurt.
Yep.
So I'm still running. I finally get to the bunker. I mean, it feels like I'm running like my 2 miles for the year. That's what it feels like. In this moon dust that's a foot deep,
Mm-hmm.
in Crocs. Like, this is miserable.
Were they pink Crocs?
Absolutely not.
Okay.
Coyote brown. But, so I mean, it just feels like I'm running in sport mode.
Sport mode.
And like, I'm hauling, right? And I'm like, when is this ever going to stop? So we get to the bunker, and we're doing all of our accountability checks and stuff. And John, my roommate, he goes, hey, you're bleeding. And I'm like, yeah, that's fine. I'm alive. So I'm bleeding from both eardrums. I have no idea really what he said. but he's like panicking. And he's got wife, kids at home. And I'm like, dude, relax. Like, you're safe now. You'll be okay. And so at that point, we're like, hey, we're all clear. We're good. We get accountability. We move forward. Like, just another day now. Well, from then on out, it's like every day we just keep getting attacked and attacked and attacked. Same thing. So it becomes pretty regular. And there was a point where we go and like we're picking up all the extra pieces from this drone, like the ODA's there, like putting like the forensics are there, like putting it back together. Yep. And they're like, yeah, we've got everything we need. Like, it's great. Like, you know, we can put it back together. So that morning, daylight comes up, and we get to a point where like, hey, I found an extra piece. Like, you guys want it? And they're like, no, we got enough. So I pick it up with no gloves on, and I flip it over, and it's got a serial number on it. And I'm like, oh crap! Like, I'm in trouble. And so I take it right to the ODA guys, and I'm like, hey, you guys want this? And they're like, no, we're good. And I was like, it has a serial number on it. And I remember the guy telling me, he goes, yep, you're on the ATF now. And I'm like, oh, okay, like that doesn't make me feel good. He's like, yeah, you're on a watch list, so I'll take that from you. And so I get called ATF the whole time I'm in Syria now. And I'm like, this is not this is bad idea. Like, deployment 2, like bad juju again. And so it keeps happening, and so we keep getting hit, and John is like, I'm going home. I can't do this anymore. He's got like a 3-year-old kid. He's like, I can't do this. Super religious, like should have been religious affairs guy. You know, I was kind of in a darkish place before we went on the deployment. He was like, hey man, it's going to be a great deployment. We're going to get into the Bible and like refine your faith, right? And I was like, cool, I appreciate it. Never opened the Bible. You know, I think we said everything but, you know, thank God we're alive. And so he goes home, and at this point, like me and him, well, before he goes home, we're like, hey, we're gonna find medical, so we get things documented. And we have a command member who's like, your National Guard, get it documented when you go back home. Like, that's how it's done. And we're like, all right, like, it doesn't make sense, like, you're telling me this when you have a medical team right here that can do it. And so we've got, you know, I think there was like 40-something Purple Hearts awarded for that one attack that the whole medical team did and all this other stuff. And we're like, I would like to have my stuff documented by the people who were here. Just do it when you get back. I'm like, all right, whatever. So we're rebuilding bunkers, refortifying the base, and all this other jazz, and we get everything done. Then we moved to Iraq. Same thing's going on in Iraq now. You know, still getting hit. Bigger stuff's coming in, but you know, they're hitting the airfield. We're at a bigger base now. So now we're at Al-Assad. And it's not bad. We're living kind of nice, right? Like, everything's kind of a little bit easier. And I'm going to go see medical because I'm getting this urge that, like, something's not going to happen, like getting anything documented, right? So I talked to medical there, and they're like, we can't document what happened in Syria and Iraq. And I'm like, oh, crap. I'm screwed. So now I'm like, I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm like, I got to get back to Syria so I can get it documented. Well, I never go back to Syria. And we're in Syria for like 90 days, and we leave, and I never go back. The closest I get is to Jordan. And I'm in Jordan, and I go to the medics there, and I'm like, hey, I really need to get something documented. This is the closest I can get. So they hooked me up. I mean, they give me everything that I've had wrong.
The whole workup.
Everything. You got a, hangnail, we got it. I was like, great, this is awesome. So we get everything. We're finally drilling a well because of the whole Hamas thing, like the Red Sea's cut off. So we finally start drilling, and then our equipment breaks. Typical Army fashion, right? So all of our stuff is got to be used can only be worked on by contractors.
Mm-hmm.
And we have no contract assets other than the SOCOM guys. And they're not touching our stuff. So they're like, our unit's like, you know what, we're done. We can't do this anymore. We're bringing our stuff back to Jordan. We're shipping it home. Then they're trying to get Jordanian stuff to try to drill this well and all this other guys. Trying to find a contractor who'll do it. And I'm sitting here telling myself, I'm like, why did you guys not try to find a Jordanian contractor to do this to begin with? And they're like, well, the Jordanians won't go into Syria. And I'm like, okay, why are we in Syria? So, but I mean, that's a whole different, animal there. But, so we finally get our stuff home, or back to Jordan, and we ship it home. And I'm sitting here and I'm talking with our team. It's a 7-man team. Well, it's a 6-man team now that John's left. And we're like, what are we going to do? So hire comes down and says, hey, you guys are done. You're going home. And we're like, okay, that's fine. So we finally pack our stuff up, move to Kuwait, and we're on our way home now. So now I'm in Texas again. I'm like, hey, I want to make sure everything's in the system, it's documented, blah, blah, blah. And they're like, well, what happened to you? And I'm thinking, read the report, you'll see. Back in January of 2024, the 3 reservists were killed in Jordan from a drone strike. And we worked really close with one of them in Syria. And, when he was killed, it made a pretty long-lasting effect on us. He was another engineer who didn't really have a whole lot of experience. So we were kind of taking him under our wing, teaching him a lot of different new things. But it was all on the job training, right? So we get home and we're in Texas, and Bliss is now reading the report. And they're like, you're pretty messed up, aren't you? And I'm thinking, no, I'm perfectly fine. I've got all my fingers, I got all my toes, I'm a little distraught of what happened, but I'm okay. And they're like, yeah, when you say that means you're wrong. And I have no idea what they're talking about. So a couple days go by, and I start kind of reliving what had happened, right? The PTSD moments are really starting to settle. And at this point, I'm like, wow, I have an issue now. And I go back to medical, and I'm like, you know what, you're right. But they tell me I don't have PTSD. So I'm really confused of you say this, but you're not saying this. So my emotions get the best of me, and I'm sitting in a room with this other doctor, and I pick this chair up and I just throw it at the wall. And I was like, do not tell me I do not have PTSD. I was like, I don't want to have PTSD, but I know I have it. And you could see her just tear up. And she's like, you're right. And I was like, thank you for finally being honest with me and telling me that there's something wrong with me. because I'm being told that, like, I don't have this or whatever it may have been. So they give me orders to come back to Bragg to go to the soldier recovery unit. And I'm looking at them and I say, what the crap is this? I don't even know what these are. It's like, I want to go home. I want to see my family, because some people don't get to do that. Like, that's all I wanted to do. I wanted to just kind of get out of the mindset of the military, just kind of, wipe the slate clean. No, Tyler, you're going to the SRU. I was like, is that like the WTB? Like, what is the SRU? So immediately she tells me, she goes, don't worry about it, you'll be fine there. And I'm like, that is not what I wanted to hear.
That's not reassuring you.
No. So, and like this whole time, like, we're in Kuwait. And John's texting me, he goes, hey, come to the SRU, it's good. Because John got medevaced and went to the SRU. He's like, go to the SRU. So I don't tell, like, medical that I know somebody's there. But she's like, don't worry about it. And I was like, no, I'm not going. And she's like, no, you have orders, you have to go. So I get to Bragg again, and I'm in the SRU, and I show up in civilians because flying into Fayetteville, all your stuff gets lost. So, like, the one rule at the SRU is, like, no civilians. And so I show up in civilians. Day 1, day 0, right? I'm like, hey, I'm here to in-process. Who are you? Why are you here? Like, we don't know anything about it. And I'm like, I'm here to in-process from Bliss. And they're like, you're the problem child? Got it. Why are you in civilians? And I was like, don't start with me. Like, this is a bad idea. So I called John again at this point. I'm like, hey, I need you to come down to headquarters and, like, talk to these people for me. Because, like, I can't do it. And he comes and, satisfies everybody with his smart wisdom words.
Fancy talk.
Very seasoned E6. So he gets down there and, clears the air for everybody. And, I mean, at this point, like, I'm in a mind funk that is, like...
You're not in a good place.
I'm hurting somebody and or myself. And, like, bad enough where it was immediate, like, hey, we're putting you on, like, high risk. So I'm like, I'm fine, leave me alone. Like, I don't want to just let me sit in my room. Like, everything that you don't want to be told. And John is my roommate again. And I walk into the room for the first time, and he's sitting there, and I'm like, there is no way they put us in the same room. And he's like, welcome to Bragg. And I was like, stop right there. I do not like this. I do not want to be here. How do I go home? So that next morning, he introduces me to the Army Reconditioning Program staff. And he says, this is my best friend, Tyler. He's in a horrible place, but he's a competitive person. And I look at John and I said, dude, just shut up. You're signing me up for something I don't even know what you're doing. I already know you. So the ARP staff looks at me and goes, how competitive are you? Like, my first interaction with them. So, played college baseball, like, I'll do what you ask me to, I'll give you 110%, whatever, right? And they're like, well, do you know about this thing called the Warrior Games? And I was like, I've been at the SRU and I'm ready to leave. Like, no, I don't know what you're talking about.
This is my first day.
Yeah, I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about. Like, they're like, well, it's televised on ESPN. I was like, I've watched so much ESPN and I've never seen this thing that you call the Warrior Games.
Is it on the Ocho?
It's on ESPN Plus.
It is ESPN Plus. Yeah.
So I was like, no. And they're like, well, here, look into it. And I was like, I'm not reading anything you give me. Like, I'm not, like, I don't even want to be here right now. I got drugged down here. So this sweet lady, Miss Joy Davis, she comes up to me and she says, if you're as competitive as John says you are, you'll be just fine here. I said, Miss Joy, I said, you're the second person who's told me that I'll be okay here. And I think that you are both lying to me right now. And I said, this is not the place for me right now. And she goes, how can I help? And I said, I have no idea. So, being on high risk, I'm being told that, like, no air rifle, no archery, no weapons, right? Makes sense. And I'm telling myself that, like, I'm not gonna hurt somebody, I'm not gonna hurt myself, but, like, and I'm in a mindset that I will. So I lied to the ARP staff. I said, hey, how can I shoot archery? I'm not gonna hurt anybody. This is what I want to do. It's quiet. My head's ringing. I got a TBI. Like, this is what I want to do just to be able to relax. Absolutely not. You're not doing this. Okay, that's fine. I'll go home. No. If that's what it's going to take, then we'll let you shoot archery. So, okay, great. So now I feel like I've one-upped the Army. Like, I'm light years ahead of the Army now. John is still like 6 steps behind me at this point. And he's like, what are you doing? And I was like, you told me that archery was fun here. I said, I'm going to find out, but I couldn't do it. So we do all this training for archery. And, there's like 11 sports in the Warrior Games. And archery and wheelchair basketball are like my two, like, I want to do the most. But you have to do 3 individual sports, and then you can do a team sport if you want. The maximum is 7 sports. So I do 7, or no, maximum of 8, sorry. So you can do 8 sports, but I did 7. And so...
What was the other individual sport that you chose?
So I had signed up for archery, air rifle, swimming, track, and field.
Okay.
And then wheelchair basketball for a team sport, and wheelchair rugby for a team sport.
Okay.
So that was my 7 sports. So I make this promise to myself where, like, basketball and archery, like, I'm taking a gold medal. I don't care what it's going to cost. Like, that's what it is. Everything else I could care less. So we do all this training, and then October of 2024, we get a phone call from Miss Joy, who's like, hey, do you guys want to go to Hawaii? And I'm like, what kind of question is that? Of course. And so, like, we're playing golf. Like, we're playing golf every day at Stryker. And she's like, hey, there's a golf tournament. But they're also doing, like, Warrior Game prep stuff. And I'm like, cool, double whammy, I'm in. Count me in. So we both go play a round of golf to see who's going to make the golf team in Hawaii. We're 1 stroke apart. And they're like, you're 1 stroke, like, we can't, like, use 1. So they send us both. So we get, like, we're medaling, like, we got a medal in, I got a medal in archery, and I got a medal in wheelchair basketball in Hawaii for, like, this specific trials it was. And it's kind of like my introduction to, like, how the Warrior Games are starting. And you're figuring out that, like, this is how the game's actually supposed to be played versus, like, the coaches are there. It's not just being a brag running into people. And So now like I've got a little bit of experience. I'm trying to come back to Bragg and like teach people like how the game is actually played and stuff like that. And then we have the Army trials for Team Army in April of 2025.
Yeah, the Warrior Games are broken out by service.
Yeah.
So you have all of the services and SOCOM, Special Operations Command.
Yep. Yeah. So we had all 5 services this year. Last year Australia was there as well. But this year it was just the 5 services because of it's an Invictus year. With Invictus being in Canada, there was some funding issues, I guess, that were for outside countries to come down. So Team Army is now getting picked in El Paso again. And as soon as I get off the plane in El Paso, I'm like, man, I'm deploying again. I said, this is miserable. So I go in the first day and I'm like, I don't want to do anything. I hate Bliss. Texas is miserable. Like, I feel like I'm going on deployment again. And first day is basketball. And I'm like, okay, never mind. I got to change the mindset immediately. So at trials in Texas, I become like this shooter that like didn't know existed. Like I'm Ray Allen in the finals. Like I didn't know I could move in a wheelchair. Like, you know, nothing but the bottom of the net. Like I'm feeling like on my high horse right now. The coach, who's like in the 1988 Paralympic team, comes over to me and goes, keep shooting. You're on the team. And I'm thinking, I'm like, if that's all I got to do, that this is easy. Lo and behold, it's not easy. There's so much more that goes into wheelchair basketball, especially for somebody who's not in a wheelchair every day. Like chair skills are something serious. And like I'm still trying to like think to myself, I'm like, just keep shooting the ball. Whether it's half court or you're behind the backboard, just shoot the ball. That's all I care about. So I think our first game in practice, I scored like 27 points. And he's like, dude, why'd you stop shooting? And I'm like, I was trying to pass the ball. I'm trying to make it fun for everybody. And at this point, I'm like, all right, I guess I know what he's wanting. He wants to win. And I'm like, I'm down to win. And so I tell the coach, I'm like, look, here's my biggest thing. Is like, I don't know what other team sports or what other sports I want to do so I can make the Team Army.
Yeah.
He's like, I don't care what you do. Just play basketball. I was like, okay. So like, all I keep hearing is like, play basketball, screw everything else. And like, I've put all this time into archery. And I was like, okay, well, that'll be one because I've now invested time into it. Like track, I run 2 miles a year. Like I'm not a sprinter. I only became a sprinter because something's trying to kill me. Like it's the only time I'm running. But yeah, I'll do track. Field, it's, you know, shot put and discus. You know, being a college pitcher, like my shoulder's ruined. I'm like, yeah, I can do this too. This is easy. And you know, swimming, I'm like, you know, nobody wants to swim or you to join the Navy. So yeah, I'll swim. Like it's you know, if I got to float, I'll float. So I get into these things, and archery, I pick up on archery, and my archery coach here at Bragg is an amazing person. His name's David Ware, and for like this first 6 months I'm in the archery range, he doesn't say a word to me. And I'm so distraught because I'm like nationally ranked, like top 20 archer in the world or in the U.S., and you're not helping me. I'm not that natural at this. Like I need some pointers. Like what am I doing wrong? So I'm not creating these bad habits or whatever. Like I need some help. Like 6 months he doesn't say a word to me. And then like 2 weeks, I feel like 2 weeks before the games in Colorado Springs, he's like, do this, this, and this, and this, and you'll be fine. Okay. Like, I'm beside myself, but all right. So I make Team Army, and basically just for archery and basketball at this point. Like, I'm horrible at everything else. Rugby's kind of fun, but I'm kind of slow. You know, I'm 240 in a wheelchair. It's not fun. But I'm watching dudes just zip by me. I'm like, I can't do this. You know, rugby's only 4-on-4,
Yeah.
but it's a whole basketball court. Like, there's a lot of room. And so I'm like, I don't know what to do. Like, I've got my 2 sports, but what else can I do? So I go back to Bragg, and I'm talking with the ARP staff, and they really just put like this training plan together that like really sets me up for success for the Warrior Games. And Dr. Brett Klingerman, he helps me like one-on-one. He's like, we're doing strength stuff, we're doing speed stuff. And I'm like, dude, I feel like an Olympian athlete right now. He's like, don't go that far, you're not that good.
Pump the brakes.
Yeah. Like, put it in reverse, Terry. But I mean, like, from a mindset of like, I don't want to do anything, to be on a high horse, to getting one-on-one training, to a point where, you know, I've got, you know, JD's, you know, backing me. Like, everybody's like, hey, you're going to do great. You're going to do awesome. You're so good at this. And like, the SRU really just started like becoming a family. And when I got to the SRU, you know, you have the green suiters, and then you have like the civilian staff.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the green suiters were just kind of like, hey, you're just a number, like, you're going to be gone in a couple months, like, and I'm like, all right, I don't want to talk to you guys. Like, you guys are not helping my mental state of mind. You know, you guys don't help my physical stuff, whatever. Civilian side, complete opposite. Like, every morning I go talk to Miss Joy and, like, vent to her. Like, I can just, whatever it is. And she's like, you're just a great person to be able to listen to things. So we get to Colorado, and I mean, it's just an eye-opening experience.
This is for the games themselves.
This is for the games, yeah.
Is it the Olympic Training Center there in the Springs?
So that's where it was supposed to be, we thought. Yeah. But they actually moved it to Colorado College. Mm-hmm. We all thought it was going to be at the...
They used to have an amazing hockey program there. I don't know if they still do or not. But.
Yeah, so, I mean, state-of-the-art rink. That's where we played basketball and rugby at.
Yeah.
So we get there for acclimation week. We're there for... It's 3 weeks.
Real quick, how many people are on the team? So, on the Army team?
So Team Army had a 40-man roster. Each service can bring 40 people.
Okay. Out of those 40, how many were with you at the SRU in here at Bragg?
4 from Bragg on Team Army.
Okay.
And then including myself, and then we had 1 from SOCOM.
Okay.
That was there.
Okay.
That was in the SRU.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah, so the games are 2 weeks, relatively 10 days or something like that. So we go up a week early for acclimation week.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely kicks my butt. You know,
Altitude's no joke.
Altitude is no joke. Like
mile high.
Yeah, so like I move in with my grandmother out at the Outer Banks, like I'm 6 inches above sea level. A mile high is not fun.
There's a little difference.
Yeah.
And I'm not a runner. So it definitely makes it a lot harder, right? So acclimation week's going great. Like, we're learning, you know, the team is now finally put together. We're working with people. They brought in some veterans who originally weren't supposed to be on the team. But some of the other services were upset that they weren't going to be able to make a team without veterans. So they allowed veterans to come in. And like the criteria to be at the Warrior Games, you know, you got to be sick, wounded, or injured. And so everybody has like this whole different story, right? And you know, you're talking to Team Army teammates, or you're talking to, you know, Team Navy or whoever the service is, right? And you really just start hearing like all these different, you know, stories of what brought them to like their SRUs or Wounded War Care project or whatever it was. And you're like, it's an eye-opening experience before the games even start. Because we did a lot of training with SOCOM. So, you know, we would work out with some SOCOM guys, and you hear like people who are on ODAs that are in the SRUs, and you're like, man, like my story doesn't account to yours. And they're like, no, your story, you know, you still have a story, right? And you know, you're sharing war stories at the dinner table or whatever it may be. And you know, at that point, I'm kind of looking at myself. I'm going, why am I here? You know, I've got all my limbs. I've got, you know, I have a TBI. I've got PTSD. But, like, I'm watching a guy run with no legs.
Yeah. We had a previous guest that we talked to about this, and it's trauma grading and trauma shaming. And that's trauma grading. Certainly is, you know, comparing your trauma or comparing two people's trauma to each other. It's not fair to either party, because each person reacts to their own trauma differently.
Yeah.
So
like we had a couple weeks before we had left, we had Josh Martin come in and talk to us about his experience. You know,
gold medalist, Josh.
With the Warrior Games and Invictus.
Yes. We are vaguely aware of Josh Martin.
We've met.
The Josh. Yeah, super cool guy. But, you know, I'm sitting here and, like, I'm in Colorado Springs. I'm talking to these other guys, you know, they just do amazing stuff. And, you know, it finally comes to realization that, like, you know, my story is true. My story, you know, there's a reason why my story is here. There's a reason why I'm here today. And, you know, every day that I talk to John, you know, which is pretty regularly, you know, I tell him, I say, hey, man, I really appreciate you. You probably saved my life. You know, because I was in such a dark place that I didn't want anybody to touch me. But, you know, he opened up, you know, his experience, and it really kind of made me open up to the realization that why the SRU exists. And, you know, the ARP staff was really, they did such a great job of, you know, being listeners and allowing me to vent and being able to talk me off the ledge at times. But yeah, I mean, I tell John all the time, I said, dude, you probably saved my life. And I said, if you didn't get me into the Warrior Games sports as soon as you did, I said, I probably wouldn't be here today. And talking to Miss Joy, I tell her the same thing. I said, if you wouldn't have, like, forced me to get a drive, like, find that spark again, I said, there's no way I'd have been here. I said, I would have left the SRU on my own terms, drove off the base, and probably, like, into a ditch, and would have stayed there. But, you know, so we're at the games, and Miss Joy's there, and, you know, I thank her every opportunity I can for, you know, just the experience to be here at Colorado Springs. And, you know, we get there, and, you know, like I said, you're talking to all these competitors, and, you know, they give you a book that tells you all the competitors in it on Team Army. And, I mean, you've got cancer patients, you've got...
Like a bio book?
Yeah, it's like a bio book.
It's a dossier.
A little rundown of each person?
Yeah. You know, where you're from, what brought you here, how long you've been in the Army type deal. And so you're reading it, like I'm reading it my hotel room at night, and I'm like, I did not know this person had stage 4 cancer. I mean, you'd have thought he's the happiest person in the world. Like, I met this guy, and he's like, hey, man, I got like 6 months to live. I'm like, how can you say that with like a straight face, with a smile? And, you know, it's just, I mean, crazy stories are out there. And, you know, like you said, you know, you're trauma grading. But you have to come to a realization that that's not what you can do anymore. You know, you have to be grateful that you're here, you know, to be able to share your story with somebody else. And that's what really opened my eyes at the Warrior Games, was like that I could share my story with somebody else who's never been deployed, who, you know, got hit by a motorcycle, you know, that can't relate to, you know, why do you have PTSD? You know, losing, you know, a battle buddy in combat. You know, so to be able to sit here and be like, yeah, like, you know, I understand that your motorcycle accident is rough, and I can tell you where you're coming from. But, you know, to sit here and tell you that, you know, losing a friend to, you know, a drone, you know, doesn't really say the same, but like, we can still comprehend it, right? So to being able to talk to like other Purple Heart recipients and, you know, figuring out like all the different benefits that, you know, each state brings or whatever, you know, to finding that, you know, once you're out of the military, that, you know, the VA can help you find you a wheelchair, even though you're able-bodied, to play on a wheelchair basketball team. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, I didn't know this was a thing. So, like, this whole acclimation period, we take a trip to the Olympic Training Center, and we watch, like, the women's Paralympic basketball team practice. And, I mean, it's just nonstop, 100%. You're like, this is insane. You know, and it really gave me a spark going into the games that, you know, if these people can do it, and this is their job, then I can do this for fun. And taking a different approach towards the games at that point was, you know, going in, but if I didn't medal, I was okay. You know, to be able to show that people that, you know, I'm not going to quit. You know, however bad it is, like, I'm not going to stop. So, wheelchair basketball rolls around, like the first event for me.
So to speak.
Huh. So, wheelchair basketball is my first event, and this is like day 3 of the games. And, I mean, we're blowing teams out of the water. We look like a professional team compared to everybody else. And all I hear is coach saying, just keep shooting, just keep shooting. I'm like, dude, we're up by 25. Like, it's like 30-0 at halftime.
Sweep the leg.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'm like, man, like, all right, coach, this isn't the Paralympics, man. Like, relax. But he keeps telling me, he's like, just keep shooting. Like, scouts are here. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, it's not that big of a deal. Well, Invictus was there watching. And like, they were doing some scouting for the 2027 games in Birmingham. And I always told myself now, I was like, you know, that's where I want to stop. I don't know if I want to go to like the Paraside, but like Invictus games would be cool. So I keep shooting. I'm having fun. We're winning. We're dominating. And I'm still like the slowest man on the court, but I'm the high scorer. So, like, the game's got to go at my speed if I really want to play it this way. So, we get a gold medal. We go 6-0.
Congratulations.
Thank you. So, we get a gold medal. And so, there's 3 team sports. You got basketball, rugby, and volleyball. So, SOCOM is like, hey, we're gonna take rugby from you guys. And, you know, there's some banter back and forth that, like, man, you lost to us. Like, it's going to be the same people in a wheelchair, blah, blah, blah. So the next day, I have field. and I get classified as a 5.5 lower in my classification rating. But I'm throwing in the 6.0 open category. So I'm throwing with like man, not boy in the Marine Corps, but like man.
You were doing the discus and the shot put, or just one or the other?
I was supposed to do both. So I'm throwing shot put first. So I see this, I mean, just a behemoth of a person throw this shot.
We call those Marines. Yeah.
I mean, and it looked like a UFO taking off. And, I mean, left a crater in the ground that, like, amazing. So,
It hit one of those Starlink satellites.
yeah, right? And so I'm up next, and I'm like, dude, like, I don't even know if I can do this. But I revert back to training. I'm like, I won't throw as far as you, but I can get close. So I just chunk this steel ball as far as I can. And as soon as I do, I hear a pop. And my shoulder's like on fire. So immediately, like, I run to medical and I'm like, hey, my shoulder's hurting. Something's happened. I heard it pop. It's burning right now. Like, I need ice or something. So Doc's over there feeling on my shoulder, and he's like, might be a torn rotator cuff. And I'm like, oh, okay. He's like, we're scratching you from discus.
You think?
Yeah.
Or you could just use the other arm. You got two arms, man. Come on.
Yeah, but, you know, it's like watching
What is this?
It's like watching a deer walk on ice,
To
too.
my tax dollars at work.
Like a deer walking on ice.
Yeah, like, it's not a good look. So, like, and I've got rugby that night. So I'm like, I'd like to have my arm for rugby. Like, and I've got to push a wheelchair all night long now.
Now that would have been interesting with just one arm.
Yeah. So we scratch shot discus.
Just real quick, how close did you get?
So in the open category, I was 12th out of 14th. In the category that I was supposed to be in, I was going to be in 4th. But I was like 0.4 meters away from him.
That's actually
Yeah.
pretty good.
It was almost the farthest I've ever thrown.
It just cost him an arm, but
Yeah.
details.
And then 2 legs later. So we scratch. I go back to the hotel. I'm icing. I'm getting therapy like for 6 hours. And rugby comes out. At this point, everybody on Team Army knows what happened. I'm like, no, like, coach doesn't need to know that I hurt my shoulder. Like, this is our first rugby game. Like, I'm hyped. I'm ready to play. Like, we've got SOCOM, like, very soon. Like, you know, this is the meat and potatoes of the games. First 2 games, I got to sit out. And I'm so, like, distraught that, like, I can't play.
Like the coach held you out?
Yeah.
Or like medical staff said
Medical,
you
really.
can't probably-
Medical held me out for the first game. Coach said, wait one more game.
Huh.
He says, wait until we really need you. And I'm like, you're only winning by 1 point both games. Like, you could probably use me. And thinking, like, yeah, like, I'm going to make a difference. Well, the first game I play, we lose. And I'm like, yeah, it was my fault. Sorry, guys. The next game, we lose. And I'm like, it's definitely my fault now. So, like, I'm crashing off this high horse. So we're 2-2 after the first night of rugby. And cause we play 4 games a night. And it's so much pushing. So we lose to Air Force and we lose to SOCOM. We lose to SOCOM only because there was a scoring error. The petition got put in and, like, we technically tied with SOCOM, but the scoreboard said we didn't. And because it's all, like, volunteer based for scoring, like, they just rolled with it. So we were upset about that. So we come into the next day. Now I've got track. And I'm like, this hurts. Like, every time I come off the court, like, I need ice. I think I played rugby with like 24,000 milligrams of ibuprofen and like 3 muscle relaxers. I'm like, I'm playing. And so I tell coach that like, I'm good. He's like, all right. So we run track. Track coach knows about my shoulder now. All I want to do is run the 100. I'm not a runner, but I signed up for running just to make the team. I want to sprint. Well, if you're a runner, you know, when you run, your arms still swing. He's like,
Yeah, if you're doing it right, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I've seen some pretty goofy runners, man.
Yeah. So he's like, run the 1,500 meter. And I'm like, you're crazy. Like, that's a mile. Like, that's half of what I run a year. He's like, trust me. And I'm like, okay. I was like, I'll come in a mile like 15 minutes. Like, Army standard slow. But I'll do it. So we start off strong. I get like 3/4 of a lap in. And I'm like, oh, this hurts so bad now. So I'm like biting my shirt. I'm walking the curves, running the straightaways. I've got like my hand like tucked in, like into my jersey.
I've been there.
Like, It hurts so bad to move.
Mm-hmm.
And like you're on the jumbo screen and everybody's running and like now I'm getting lapped and I'm like, this is embarrassing. And I look at the jumbo screen and like it's on me and I'm like, ugh, what are you guys doing? And so I look up and I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, how do I do this, right? I'm like, just keep running, you know, and that's when it really hit me, like, what the Warrior Games were about. It was like finding your why that you're here. And, you know, leaning back on, like, the Army values, the Warrior ethos of, like, don't ever quit. You know, doesn't matter how bad it hurts, you know, keep going. You know, and I'm on my last lap, and everybody in the crowd's like standing, clapping, cheering, and I'm like, I hate you all. And like, I'm like 15 minutes in to a 1 mile that some dude from SOCOM did in like 6 minutes. And I'm like, this is miserable. But that's when I realized that like what the Warrior Games are about is like cheering on every person, and like it doesn't matter where you're at in your recovery journey, like you're out here doing it. Because it would have been easy just for me to be like, you know what, I'm not running today, and or just give up and like wave it off. Because coach
Coach knew that.
Yeah, coach was like, hey, do you want to stop? And I was like, no, mom didn't raise a quitter.
Yeah.
You know, PG version, right? But I'm yelling at him. I'm like, mom didn't tell me to stop.
Yeah.
You know, I'm thinking like, you know, this is me. You know, I'm hurt, but like I'm still here. Like I'm gonna give it all I can, but like if it hurts where I gotta walk, I'll walk. And he's like, okay. He's like, you want to do the 100? And I was like, God no.
Nope.
I was like, I can't do that.
You can't quit if you don't even try.
Exactly. And so we finished that up, and again, right back to the medical tent. And I'm like, I need something good. And they're like, we got ice. And I'm like, that'll work. Like, I've got everything else in my bag. Like, I can make it work. So now we're going back to rugby again that night. And I'm like, man, this is rough. And I'm like, this is the second day of rugby. Like, this is now for, like, medals.
Yeah.
Have you confirmed at this point that you have a torn rotator cuff?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so I've talked to Doc now, and Doc's like, we can feel that it's like slightly torn.
Yep.
But keep going, buddy.
Yeah, he's like, don't stop now. And I'm like, okay. Yeah, so like, we're going to the medal rounds of rugby, and we've got Air Force. Again. So, I'm playing again, and again, I'm doped up on ibuprofen again. And lo and behold, I make like the game-winning try and like the game-winning stop. and you would have thought like my shoulder was not bothering me because I was like, I'm fighting through the pain.
It's adrenaline.
Yeah, I mean, this adrenaline rush was insane. Like, Team Army is like in the crowds, like at the hockey rinks. I mean, it's crazy loud in there. You know, all the friends and family are in there. Like, it became like a big thing. So the game's over, and now like the adrenaline's wore off, and I'm like, oh my god, like we're going to the gold medal, so we got a game to wait. And I'm like, medical, I need to see medical right now. So I like unbuckle, I get out of my walking around, I'm like, where's the medical team at? Like my arms just like dragging the ground, it felt like. And so they hooked me up with more ice and like the TENS units and stuff, and like they're pumping everything they can at me. And so the gold medal match comes out, and we're playing SOCOM again. And I mean, it comes down to like the last 15 seconds, and they score. I mean, just heartbreaking.
Yeah.
So we get silver in rugby, and you know, I'm playing through it, like methodically playing this game of like, you know I'm slow in the chair, but like I can't go fast because of my shoulder. It's like methodically, like we're trying to play this game like we play better if I'm on the court, but we play slower.
Yeah.
And you know, people, you know, that adrenaline, like you're making a bad pass, whatever it was, right? So I'm like, I tell coach, I said, we move slow, but we move efficiently. And he's like, yeah, you're right. Like, we'll keep playing you. And I'm like, this is a bad idea. I should have just kept my mouth shut. Like, this hurts so bad. And
in my big mouth.
yeah, so like we lose the last 15 seconds of the game. And you know, it was kind of like, man, like, all right, like it was a heartbreaking moment, but it's like best 2 of 3 now. Like, we got basketball, they got rugby, volleyball next. No chance we're losing this one. And so I'm not on the volleyball team, but like I'm like the head spirit guy now or whatever. So the next morning we have archery. And I'm pulling this bow back, and I'm like, dude, I don't even know how I'm doing this. Again, ibuprofen. Like, I got to go to the CVS to get a new bottle at this point. So I shoot a personal best I've ever shot in qualification round. And the interview lady comes over, and she goes, how did you do it? And I said, with the torn rotator cuff. And she kind of like stopped, and she goes, wait, we're going to revisit that. You're doing all this with a torn rotator cuff, and you still shot like the number 1 overall seed. And I was like, yeah, I mean, it's, you know, thinking to myself, like, trust your shot process, you know, all the right answers. And then, like, don't quit. Like, I can't quit now. Like, I'm already invested into this.
Yeah.
And, like, I came for archery, so, like, I can't not do well in archery now. Or like I'll never, you know, relive it for myself. And so I shoot like a 287 out of 300. It gives me the overall number 1 ranking going into the next day. So the top 8 move forward, and I'm just peeling them off one by one after this. Get to the gold medal match. Guy's got a shoulder injury as well. And I didn't know this at the time. And so I got to shake his hand. I'm like, hey, man, like, how are you doing? And he's like, you got a shoulder injury? I was like, yeah. And he's like, oh, well, let the best archer win. You know, I'm like, yeah, like, I'm just glad to be here at this point. And, like I get an arrow agent to go pull my arrows for me because it hurts to pull arrows. And he comes up to me after the match, and he goes, yeah, I had a shoulder injury too. Like, that's why you won. I was like, no, it wasn't. I was like, I beat you because I'm better. And I was like, you had a shoulder injury this whole time, and I did too. So I was like, you know.
Sounds like a wash.
Yeah. And I was like, you know.
Sounds like
Sounds like the other competitor was Navy.
Marine Corps.
That's
Well,
what, that's what
they
I said.
are.
That's what I said. Navy.
Yeah.
We're gonna get letters for that one. Okay.
Written in crayon.
But yeah, so I mean, he's like, great job, yada yada yada, everything like that. Well, then the Marine Corps coach walks over to me and he goes, "I'm a Paralympic archer," and I was like, "You could have started with that, like, at the beginning of this, and I would have felt, a little bit more hesitant." And he's like, "You have what it takes to go to the next level for archery," and I'm like, "Dude, like this hurts. I don't want to do this anymore," and and I'm not thinking straight at this point, and the emotions are high. Like I won gold, and he's like, you have what it takes. And I'm like, dude, I don't even know what you're talking about. Like I want to go home and like ice my shoulder, or, like find medical now. And again, like he was like an Invictus scout. So we win the team shoot off between the different branches. It's a three man shoot. And then I win the individual gold for the men's compound. And then basically that's the end of my Warrior Games. But so we go to the volleyball game that night. And so swimming is that next morning. And I'd scratch swimming because it's also at like 4:30 in the morning. And I'm like, you've already told me I'm not swimming because of my shoulder. Like I can sleep in.
Yeah.
And like this is the best thing that's happened to me now. So then we got volleyball that night. And crazy atmosphere. Like it's the last event of the games. Like everybody's, just going nuts, right? Like RFK Jr.'s in the house. Like 4 stars are in the house. Like everybody and their mother's watching this. This is like the closing ceremony of the Warrior Games. And we end up beating SOCOM by 2 in the third set to finish off the Warrior Games with 2 out of 3. And, to sit there and watch, a man with no legs play seated volleyball, and knowing that there was so much pain, like really just opened my eyes again to like, if you can do that, then I can, do what I'm doing.
Yeah.
With a shoulder injury. I mean, I still have my arm. And like that's really what has opened my eyes to just life in general. To a point where, your injury doesn't define who you are. It's what you do afterwards. Do you give up and say, hey, this is going to stop me? Or, do you find a way around it in a way that, prepared you for life in the future? Or helping somebody else overcome something differently.
Right. Because it's not always about us either.
Yeah. And I think that was the biggest thing for me, because John didn't go to the Warrior Games. He retired before we left. So we were both supposed to go, but he retired, so he didn't get to go. So everything that he did for me got me all of my medals. And he sits back and like, hey man, congratulations. But like I tell him all the time, I say, if it wasn't for you, I would have never made it this far. And there's so many other people, that were behind me and pushing me forward to keep doing this and like keep prevailing with the injuries that you have, to not stop, but also, coming like with you guys and like being able to testify and like saying how much things have changed, but for the better, and not realizing that it was for the better. So like the SRU gave me hope in life again, while also I found people within the SRU that like
Your tribe.
Yeah. JD is a great example. I mean, I would have never thought that little E6 me would have met an 05 that was caring enough about my personal health. And
He's going to get a big head.
I won't tell him.
I'll go ahead and make sure that I mute out the names.
But he's going out of his way to like find, hyperbaric oxygen therapy for me, for TBI stuff. And, trying to get me into the Duke Clinical and like stuff like that. So, I would have never thought that, officers were that nice.
It's rare.
Extremely. So, on that point, because the games was just in June?
July.
Yeah,
July.
a few weeks
Yeah,
ago.
yeah. So, yeah.
Yeah, I got back last Sunday.
Oh, wow. I thought it was like the beginning of July. But okay. So where are you going from here? Because you're still in service. You're getting scouted by Invictus scouts and Paralympic
God knows
coaches
what else,
and all this other stuff. So have you thought about where you're going to go from here?
Kind of, a little bit. So like for me, Invictus is so far out, right?
Because it's still another 18 months.
Yeah. So it's in 2027, July-ish, or before, I don't know. But again, like, so I will actually be retiring in November. And I will actually be leaving Fort Bragg in the end of August. So I'll go on transit leave, at the beginning of September through November. So like I've talked to JD and said, hey, am I able to come back and still train with the SRU and like do all these other things? And he's like, absolutely, like, you're more than welcome to come back and, train, coach, mentor, the next Tyler.
So you still want to stay involved with
absolutely
with at least the unit, if not the games themselves.
Yeah, at some point, I think January we'll get our application for the games next year in San Antonio.
For the Warrior Games?
For the Warrior Games, yeah. And then
that's in Texas.
I know. It's on the east side of Texas, though.
Does that make it better?
It doesn't.
No.
I love San Antonio. I'm just...
Yeah.
It's a good party town.
It's not the desert. But, like, now that I've got my feet wet with the Warrior Games, I think it is something that, whether I volunteer or I'm a part of the games, just being able to be there, it is such an eye-opening experience. And I tell people all the time at the SRU is that if you're not competing, go be a volunteer. It'll open your eyes to you as an SR.
Yeah.
But it'll really change how you think. And I'm more than grateful for the opportunity that arose for me, in being able to compete and do well. But like, it wasn't about the medals, right? Everybody wants to win. But like, I got 4 medals compared to some people who have like 12.
That's 4 more medals than Dan and I have.
It's true.
But they're massive paperweights.
We're a little disappointed
we
that you didn't have a real flex and come in here wearing them like Josh did.
Well, Josh had more than me. I did bring them though.
Ooh.
I brought them.
We're gonna have to retake the picture.
Yeah, we'll redo the photos.
Okay. Yeah, I brought them. But yeah, they're heavy enough that they'll break your neck.
We know. Okay, so before we wind this down, when you got to the SRU, you had told the staff, like, I just want to go home. So throughout the entire process of you being there in the SRU and going through the train up and being actively involved in the games and stuff, how involved was your family in that? And then were they ultimately able to go and see you at the games?
So realistically, I didn't talk to him. I mean, I would see my grandmother on the weekends. I would call my mother and father, but I didn't really see them a whole lot. They would always ask, how's your medical stuff going? Are you getting better? Right, like asking the parent questions. Making sure that don't leave anything on the table when you leave the Army, because the Army's going to take everything they can from you, whatever. Having my mother who was in the military, she understands. But yeah, I didn't really see them a whole lot. We got 2 free guests to go to Colorado with us, and I felt very obligated to take my siblings. My youngest sister and my younger brother. One, simply because it fell right between their birthdays.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. But like I told my brother and my sister, I told them both, I said, when you get to Colorado, like if you guys don't show up, it's not going to hurt my feelings. Like, it's a free vacation for you guys. Like, go watch the Rockies play, go to the Coors Museum or whatever. Like, enjoy your time.
Go do the Manitou Incline.
Yeah. No, that was a horrible idea.
Oof.
But like they were super supportive. They were there at every event that I did. And then like I'd tell them, hey, I'm not swimming. And they're like, okay, I'm sleeping in.
Same thing you said.
Me too. But I mean, super supportive. All the events are on YouTube now. All the recordings and everything are on YouTube now under the Warrior Games. But I mean, it was such a cool experience to have them there. I wish I could have brought my mom and dad, but with their work schedules and stuff like that, like it was just tough.
And you're only afforded so many tickets.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Like my sister's at ECU as well.
The Harvard of Eastern North Carolina.
So I was able to get her during summer break, and like my brother took off from work.
Yep.
The one who's also in the military. So it was an opening experience for him to see, a bunch of physically broke people come together.
Yeah.
And now he's like, hey man, like let me go on a deployment and get hurt. And I'm like, no, it's not worth it. It's not worth it.
That's not the way it works, man.
Yeah.
So on that note, from pulling security in your front yard with your dogs, skipping to school uphill both ways to Andy Griffith, East Carolina, the Harvard of Eastern North Carolina, getting blown up in the Middle East, to becoming a gold medalist in the Warrior Games. Would you do it all over again?
Probably not.
Yeah?
Probably not.
Okay.
And that's a hard answer for me, right?
Yeah.
If you'd have said we skipped the blowing up part, absolutely. With it changing how I deal with life and how, like, the things that I went through, the way people saw who I was, absolutely not. But we take all that away, 100% I'd do it again. Because I feel like it's not fair for people to see that side of me that I didn't even get to see. It was so fast, it was so dark that I never saw the light. And, I was cutting people out of my life who, I really should have kept close. I lost faith.
Yeah.
I lost faith in humanity. I lost faith in the leadership in the military. So, it wasn't until the SRU where, like, a lot of that was regained.
Yeah.
But, like I said, like, it's not fair for people to see that. It wasn't fair for me to kick people out of my life that were just trying to help. And that that dark side of like, you don't know what I'm going through, just leave me alone, let me die, whatever it was. Like, that's not fair. And now that people are worried, but I'm cutting them off, I'm not talking to them. Like, now they're more worried. They're reaching out to family members. Hey, is Tyler okay? What are you talking about? He hasn't talked to us either. So now everybody's worried.
Yeah.
And I'm just trying to get back on my feet.
Right.
So, I mean, it's a hard thing to answer.
Of course.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would say I wouldn't do it again.
Okay.
I mean, if a recruiter came to my door, I'd tell him to kick rocks.
Yeah. I mean, that's fair. We're all on our own journey.
But I mean, I haven't enjoyed my journey, but I wouldn't do it again.
It's fair.
That's fair.
Tyler, thank you so much, man. This has been great.
Thank
we
you.
appreciate it.
I appreciate you, brother. Thank you.
Much.
Yeah.
Now, it's time to pull out those medals. We got another picture to take.
Right on.
That was a really interesting episode. It's a little different than what we usually do.
He is the first person that we've talked to that has spent his whole service in the Guard.
Yes, I was thinking the same thing about 10 minutes in.
Yeah, I didn't know that he was in the Guard.
We had made assumptions.
Yes, we did make assumptions. Yeah. But we have had people who have gone Guard to active or active to Guard.
Or vice versa, yeah.
But yeah, he's the first person that we've talked to that did all of his time active.
He came highly recommended by a dear friend.
Yeah.
So, thank you, JD.
He had an interesting run of things, from his multiple attempts to become an officer, to his various engineering backgrounds, and once again, he's another engineer that did not wind up blowing up bridges.
It's in the brochure. Maybe they should have that removed, or maybe they shouldn't. Maybe that's how they draw you in.
It's the bait and switch.
Yeah, exactly.
But he had some great experiences, and some not so great ones. We talked with Wiz Buckley about trauma grading and trauma shaming, and we talked with Tyler after we were done recording more about it.
Yeah.
And it's something that we do to ourselves, and we do to others, and it's not fair to either party.
Yeah.
To do that. But I don't. It's just something that we can't help.
It's part of our ethos is to put others first.
Yeah.
At least it should be anyway. But to put others first in their needs and their and sometimes desires, and so it kind of stands to reason that somebody who's kind of stitched together that way would also always try to downgrade or downplay their own, in this case, trauma.
What I liked is what he got to there at the end about how getting to the SRU and competing in the games really helped put him back together.
Yeah.
Not physically, but mentally, and really pulled him through some dark spots.
Well, it totally makes sense. It gave him a tribe, and it gave him a sense of purpose.
Yeah, and I think part of that goes back to him being very involved in sports as a kid, and his dad being a coach, and him really growing up with that athletic focus, and going to college, and playing baseball. I think getting back to that sports and team mentality really, really helped. And he said the same thing.
Yeah. They had his number the moment he showed up.
Yeah, even though he said he didn't want anything to do with it and he didn't trust anybody.
They totally had his number.
Yeah. Yeah. Here's Tyler, and he's one of the most competitive people you ever meet. It turned out he was right.
Did you ever watch How I Met Your Mother?
Yeah.
That's the old "Have you met Ted?"
But yeah, they were right. Because, I mean, he was dragging around a useless arm from like day 2 at the Warrior Games and just would not quit.
Yeah.
Impressive.
Yeah.
I would like to think that I could do the same,
Yeah.
but I wouldn't bet money on me.
Well, as somebody who's had a destroyed shoulder before, it's not fun.
It was really impressive that he got that close to the behemoth's shot put. He said
The behemoth.
0.4 meters. So
I'm sure that Marine would love to know that we are referring to him as the behemoth.
well, that's what he called him. That's what Tyler called him.
I know. I'm just saying. I literally mean he would love that.
Well, if that Marine is watching,
You know who you are.
you know who you are. Congratulations, Behemoth. We'll send you some crayons if you need a snack.
We'll splurge and get you the Crayolas. Okay.
The scented ones.
It'll be a business write-off. Okay.
So,
It'll be pumpkin spice flavored. It's right around the corner for you, Dave.
pumpkin spice.
Gents, that's what we call a callback. Okay. Anything else on Mr. Pollard?
No, I'm glad that he came on. He was trepidatious to do so,
Yeah.
and I'm glad that he did. We certainly got something out of this. I hope that you, the audience, got something out of hearing his story. And
Learned about the Warrior Game.
And I think that Tyler himself got something out
Yeah.
of sharing his story.
I think Tyler may, as he gets a little older and has a little more time and distance between now and his separation, I think he may change his mind about a few things, but time will tell.
Time will tell.
Time will tell. So thank you, Tyler.
Thank you indeed.
Okay, you know what time it is. Free fire.
Oh, I thought it was time to take over the world.
We've already done that. We sit atop. A few weeks ago, you already know this. A few weeks ago, rock and roll lost a legend. Mr. John Michael Osbourne, also known as Ozzy.
Mm-hmm.
And one of our Red Friday questions that we did weeks ago was, what was your favorite Ozzy song? But you and I have actually not had this discussion together. So my question to you, what is your favorite Ozzy song? You can include Black Sabbath. But it has to be Ozzy era Black Sabbath.
He has so many good ones that it really depends on like what mood you're in, or since this is me, what mood I'm in or what I'm doing. The Bark at the Moon album, the whole album is really good. The song in particular is really good, but that album is pretty much fitting for just about every day and everything that you're doing.
Yeah.
Crazy Train is great for getting amped up.
It's a great hype song. Yeah, for
it's
sure.
a great hype song. Mama, I'm Coming Home is good for if you're in a more somber.
Which was the last song you played. It is a homecoming concert. Well, it's probably a little over a month ago now, but yeah.
He's got so many great.
It's a good one to
ones,
go
man.
out on.
Yeah, yeah, it is.
Yeah. What about Black Sabbath?
I mean, Iron Man's the classic, right? So, yeah, we'll go with Iron Man.
Okay. No, yeah, that's all. That's all fair. I'm pretty similar to you in that I'm not a snob about certain songs, albums, or eras. Like I do pretty much celebrate most of his stuff from beginning to end. Not every single song is great, of course, but I think there's something good in every phase of Ozzy. So yeah, you know, it's hard to go wrong with War Pigs.
Yeah.
Iron Man's pretty great. Blizzard of Oz was good. Bark at the Moon was good. I mean, it's all good. Even his later, I think his last album, I want to say, came out in '01, which was much longer ago than you think it was, by the way.
I know, right?
I was kind of reviewing some of this after he passed. I was just kind of going back over. I was like, surely he's had an album since then. I don't think he did.
I think
He may have had a couple singles or something, but
well, he was. When was the last Ozfest?
probably in the 2010s, I would think. I mean,
Because they put together those albums, and it would usually be like the most popular song from each band that was at the, and it was all the acoustic, actual live performance versions, which can be hit or miss depending. Some bands, and I know this is going to hurt some people's feelings, some bands are not good live.
They're not, yeah.
And some bands are
only good live.
Are just at their peak performance when it's live.
Yeah.
And for the Chris Cornell fans, he was never involved in anything good. I don't care.
Temple of the Dog? Okay. I know. It was super groups, right?
It wasn't necessarily the music. It was him. It was his voice that ruined everything.
He was over the top.
It was nails on a chalkboard.
It's true.
How do you take Rage Against the Machine and ruin them?
You add Chris Cornell.
Make Chris Cornell the lead singer, and rename the band.
Or you could let Tom Morello start speaking, which is not a good thing either. But back to Ozzy.
Probably the greatest living guitarist of all time, or well,
Living
guitarist. I saw him in Vegas. Yes, with the Chris Cornell version of the band. It was worth it. Watching Chris Cornell sing Rage songs was not, but watching Tom Morello go nuts, that was awesome. But anyway,
Ozzy. If I was to pick a couple post Black Sabbath Ozzy songs, I mean, I love Mama I'm Coming Home.
Yeah.
That's tough to beat.
You got to be in the right mood.
His Down to Earth album, which I believe was the last one, which came out in '01, had a really amazing song on it called "It Gets Me Through," which is a really great one. But Blizzard of Oz had so much great stuff on it too.
Yeah.
So rest in peace, Ozzy. He was a complicated man.
He contained volumes.
Yes, he did. I sincerely hope he got right with God before it was all said and done, because I had enormous respect for the guy. I really did.
Yeah. He got the most out of his talent. We'll put it that way.
He did. Him and Dr. Faust. It's just one last thing, because I've been to several Ozfests, and if you're not watching, if you're just listening, if you don't believe Faust was real, the whole tale of selling your soul for
the Faustian bargain.
Yeah, the Faustian bargain.
Not Faucian bargain.
That's different. I've seen on multiple occasions, because I've seen him live so many times. Ozzy would just hobble out like Mr. Burns, almost just his little hand just kind of hobble out to center stage and grab the microphone and then just rock a 90-minute set like it was nothing. And then the set's over. Good night, everyone. Thank you. And then just Mr. Burns hobble his way back off of the stage, and it's like.
I'm trying to remember if this was in like the late 90s or earlier. He was at, I believe it was a Chicago Cubs game, and he was brought out, I believe, during the 7th inning stretch.
He's probably wheeled out.
No. He was standing, and he was singing "Take Me Out to the Ball Game," and it is the worst thing I have ever heard in my entire life. It was very clear that he did not know the words, and the crowd was not going to help him. It was.
Nothing says
it was bad.
Nothing says as American as apple pie as this doddering old Englishman from death metal artist from Birmingham. Good night. This is Spinal Tap.
It was so bad. It was so bad.
There's none more black. None more black. Okay, we've gone off the rails on a crazy train here. You see what I did? There? Thanks everybody for watching and listening to the show.
Thanks Tyler for coming on and sharing.
Thanks JD for the helping bring Tyler into our orbit here. So check out the show anywhere you can find it. We're on all the audio platforms. We're on YouTube and Rumble. Please like, share, subscribe, give us a good review.
There is an audio platform, and we have at least one listener regularly listening. There is an audio platform called Podcast Republic. And I have given shout-outs to the likes of iVooks and others that I had never heard of before. Podcast Republic is new to me. And so to our fan out there that is listening...
Singular fan.
At least, because it's at least one.
Thank you
it's
to
at
our
least
fan,
one
yes.
that is listening on Podcast Republic. Keep doing your thing.
All right. Thanks, everyone, for the show. And remember, your service matters.
Should have seen the size. The jalapenos that I picked up were probably the biggest jalapenos I've ever seen. They looked. What are the other really big ones?
Poblanos?
No. They're a little bit lighter green than jalapenos, and they have almost like a more shriveled rather than smooth texture. I can't remember.
But they're peppers, not...
But yeah, they're peppers.
Not the chilies, though, like the little skinny...
I mean, I guess they'd still be considered peppers, but a little bit lighter green, still usually a little bit bigger than jalapenos, but a more shriveled appearance than the smooth appearance of a jalapeno.
I've been on a jalapeno kick lately.
But dude, these jalapenos, if I had thought about it at the time instead of 2 days later, I would have picked up a dozen and made bacon-wrapped stuffed jalapenos.
That's nice. Yeah, I've been on a jalapeno kick. I'll just cut them in half. I'll hollow them out, just cut them in half, and just throw them on the Blackstone. Like I don't season them.
Put some cream cheese in there with a little bit of pepper and basil and oregano, and then wrap them in bacon. Throw them on the grill for 5 minutes.
Yeah,
so good.
I've never been a big cream cheese guy. I mean, there are things that it's mixed with that I'm like, okay, but like I've never been a big cream cheese guy. Anyway.